Good morning. How are we? Is it too early for a sip? I don't know. I don't think so. Sips. It's Sunday. Why can't we have one, eh? Or two or three. And Heidi was there and she just disappeared. It's all good. So it looks like Trump and the good old Yahoo have decided to go and bomb the fuck out of Iran. I'm really curious. Is this going to turn into another sadly insane scenario where we go in there and go, oh, there was no weapons after all, but we got them. Reports are coming out. Apparently, they've knocked off the the head honcho of Iran at the moment. I don't know what you call that, and their speak and whatnot. It's all looking pear-shaped. It's very interesting time as well because since Heidi's not with us, I'll got something to distract you with while we wait for her to get back. I did find something very interesting. Holy shit, did that finish downloading properly? I have a feeling it didn't. Nope, something went wrong. So where is it? I'll bring it up manually. Good old Stephen Burns has pointed out some interesting things regarding astrological alignments. I've been talking to a few different people, and I suddenly had the urge to look up the moon position of my birth. And it turns out I was born on a full moon. So, me being me, thought I'd take it to the next level and go, so how many full moons have I seen since I've been here? And apparently 555 full moons for me on, Tuesday? When the full moon kicks in. Yes, Tuesday is when the full moon kicks in. And it's a blood moon on my 555th moon cycle. Isn't that interesting? So, but yeah, old mate has pointed out some other interesting astrological alignments. So if we bring in good old Stephen Burns here, Stephen Burns, sorry, check his stuff out. He does some good work, I reckon. He is a geophysicist. He knows what he's talking about. So, we'll be able to see the full moon in its entirety from where we are on the east coast. Most of the rest of Australia should be able to see it though. Where is it? And it does come up a little bit. He's talking about Yankee Land, obviously. So here we are here in Australia. You can see that those of us along the east coast here are definitely going to get to see the whole event. Central Australia not so much, and a little bit less on the west coast there. So that's interesting, of course. But what's also interesting about this, it was about 12 minutes, I think. Yeah, here we go. Is the position of, let's get his arm out the road. Of all the planets, so the moon's sitting up the top here, sort of thing. Most of the planets are all sort of sitting here around, on the other side of the planet, so to speak. So it's obviously the nighttime, we can see it at night. Very interesting that all these things are happening, and it sort of makes you wonder a little bit more about, the cult, and their desires to commit acts of war and violence upon this earth, and how they seem to always pick these kinds of events. Isn't that fascinating? So anyway, without distraction taken care of, we can now get to the crux of the matter here. Heidi, how you going?
Good morning. How are you?
Not too bad. I seen you dropped out there. Did we have a technical issue there for a second?
It's called a Heidi issue.
Wrong button. I know those issues. They happen a lot around here. So some people just have, I've noticed, a special touch when it comes to technology, and it either you make it work or you make it break.
Right.
You're a break kind of a techno person.
Right.
Yeah, I always seem to get things to work. It's one of those things, like so some members of the household go near technological devices and they do all sorts of weird shit, and I come along to witness this weird shit and it stops doing it. So I don't know.
Could it be something, say, like I can't wear certain jewelry because it goes green on me, or I get infected earlobes or whatever it might be? Maybe that's it. There's something in the pool of the magnetism or something.
Yeah, it could be an electromagnetic thing. I mean, on some of this more spiritual circle stuff that I've looked into, they seem to suggest that some people have just got a huge energy in their soul that affects these sorts of things, you know.
Maybe.
So, yeah.
Let's go with that.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Why not? And we also should bring in our other friend here, Daryl. How are you, mate?
Oh, good morning, Batty, and good morning, Heidi, and a good morning to all of our watchers.
The watchers. Very biblical term there, the watchers. So,
how are we all?
Yeah, not too bad, my friend. How have you been? I haven't seen much of you in a while.
Oh, busy as ever, of course.
Busy as ever. Yeah. Any interesting court cases come up lately, Darren?
Yeah, we're still preparing for the case against the registrars from the High Court in the New South Wales Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And Rod's case, Rod Cullerton's case, Beverly Piers's case. So we've got and we've drafted up paperwork to battle the hate crimes, the hate speech rubbish that they've brought out. And of course, they're starting to exercise those powers, even though there is no head of power granted to any of our parliaments to bring about these hate laws. So they're going to have to get over what's known as the implied freedom of political communication.
Yes.
And which has been a part of our constitutional framework since Federation and prior. So, they just pulled a rabbit out of the hat. We need to look into what's actually influenced this sort of legislation. And of course, I believe personally that it must be to do with the lobbying of certain foreign powers into our parliamentary system. And that's something that we need to confront. We need to challenge the lobbying, the powers in our parliaments, and put in fact, pretty much eliminate them, because that's a barrier between the constituent and the parliamentarian representing that constituent. So it's time of reckoning, really. The hate laws are a way of them saying to the rest of us that there is a major problem within our parliamentary system, and we need to jump on top of that as quick as possible. Using the letter of the law to do so. So, and of course, our High Court of Australia and the Supreme Courts of each state have this authority to judicially review any inconsistent or what's known as repugnant laws that come out of our parliamentary system. So
we can see that, they've moved in already. This from the 19th of February here, police seize art posters depicting Trump, Putin, and Netanyahu in Nazi uniforms from Canberra bar. So, here's I'm guessing this is the fella, the Descent Cafe and Bar owner, David Howie here. Police have seized art posters from the Canberra music venue and bar that depicts world leaders and others, including Trump, Elon, wearing Nazi uniforms, and are investigating whether new federal hate symbol laws were broken. So, yeah, it's ridiculous, because that is an assault on art. It may not be art that I agree with, but at the end of the day, this is the path to communism. One of the biggest problems with socialism and communism has always led to the destruction of art, which is a free human expression, and like I said, I don't particularly agree with the art, but why can't people express themselves with art? It's a dangerous position that we're. Yeah, so
why are our police pursuing these laws, pursuing
And
people who supposedly break these laws.
well, Canberra Daily here has printed it. Will Canberra Daily now be raided? Like,
Yep.
you know, for putting this up there, like, how does this work? This newspaper's allowed to print it, but he's not allowed to put it up in his friggin' shop because it's got hate symbols. You know, am I going to get in trouble for regurgitating it again? Like, this is fucking retarded.
It's a bit like my legal service commissioner thing where they've said I'm not allowed to produce this particular piece of paper that I had, but then they put it in the paper.
go figure.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and we've got to get on top of this as quick as possible. Yeah. So why our police are pursuing this? They have an obligation to follow the letter of the law, and why are they ignoring? In fact, they're in contempt of the High Court when they go and pursue these people for supposedly breaking these hate laws, which there's no authority for our Parliament to bring in. The police have an obligation at law and to the courts. So why are they following it?
And they also have free will. They have the free will to go, no, this is fucking stupid. I'm not doing it, you know, which is what they should have been doing during COVID, you know, as well. This is ridiculous. We are not obeying, you know. We have every right to ignore stupid laws, particularly fake laws, I believe it was. What was it? What was the fella's name again? In the 40s, he said that. Every citizen has the right to ignore the.
That was in 1942 in the High Court.
42, yeah.
Yeah, that was the first uniform tax case. Yeah, we have an absolute right to ignore laws that are repugnant to the Constitution. And this is straight out of the Constitution. You know, this is the High Court have established this many times over. The only ruling that we have a problem with is the last ruling that occurred October last year in the Farmer case. So that was Farmer versus the Department of Home Affairs, or the Minister for Home Affairs, Tony Burke, when he rejected the visa for Candace Owens to come out to Australia. And he based it on she failed the character test. And then he went.
But they let Albo in.
Yeah, they let Albo into Parliament.
Yeah, I know, it's even worse.
But then they did the next crazy thing, and Burke rejected a visa of a gentleman and his family who went to a protest rally where there was a sign, and they stood beside this sign that said abolish Jewish lobbying. Right,
which is a really hateful thing to say, isn't it? What a horrible concept.
What a horrible idea, you know. Well, there you go. And this guy, he's an engineer, I think. He'd been out here about 2 or 3 years with his family. He was from South Africa, and he just decided to go to this rally and stand beside this sign. And the minister said, "No, I'm revoking your visa. Go home." Deported him and his family. And it's sort of go, hang on, that's an executive arbitrary exercise of power, which really defied his ability to politically communicate. You know, like all of us. If we want to stand next to a sign that's got a Nazi symbol on it or whatever, then that's okay. If someone if they're offended by that, well, I think it's about time that individual builds a bridge and gets over it. You know, like,
maybe in 80 years now, when they mention COVID, that'll be illegal too, right?
Well, yeah, that's right.
The entire of Germany used it, abided by it, saluted to it, did all of those things. Those that opposed it at the time, the conspiracy theorists, you know, they were serious detriment, and here we are years later when an entire country participating, not allowed to talk about it.
Well, what's actually occurring now, they're saying that the written word will be our master through AI. Okay, so when you see in a digital format the written word, that we have to obey. Okay. Now, AI is not renowned for telling the truth.
Yeah.
So they're
Dead
actually,
set.
and they also admitted that AI lies. It deceives.
Well,
They
it's
sort of,
if that's what it's programmed to do, then of course that's what it's going to do, you know. And again, like, you know, just this basic search engine of AI, it always seems to refer to Wiki. No matter how many times I say stop looking at Wiki, look, you know, do a deeper search, and it just grabs the standard shit that you're trying not to find, you know.
Well, it's changed. Something's happened. It's now saying like, let's not get emotional here. Let's strategically do this. And I'm like, you're a robot. Don't tell me what emotions are. What are you, you know, it's everyone's complaining. Talking about the written word, whilst I've just been sitting here, I put my books on the floor and I have a puppy who has now chewed a hole in the 1958 mercantile book. And
You gotta love dogs.
the first edition of the Fitzgerald Inquiry is now in pieces.
Wonderful.
oh, well.
Children and pets. Gotta love them.
Her name is Liberty.
Trying to free you from the written word.
Yeah, that's my
Actually
point.
reminds me of a Terry Pratchett story with the I think it's in the Wee Freeman. Oh, it's one of those where, you know, got these tiny little Scottish guys, you know, and they're all painted blue and they're always running around starting fights and whatnot. And but they absolutely hate the written word because it casts spells on people. And, you know, we don't give our name. They don't give their name to people because they'll write it down and cast a spell on them and shit like that. It's a really cool concept. I thought it was hilarious, you know. But yeah.
And hold that note about spells, Mark, because of the article we're going to talk about, because the Professor McIntyre talks about spells and sovereign citizens. Hold that note.
Right. Wow. Shall we jump into that, or have we got something else we want to get off first?
I'm easy.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. All right. So how should Australia handle sovereign citizens? You know, and again, I don't know many people running around claiming to be a sovereign citizen. It's obviously you know, that's their hate speech for people who are thinking, is the way I would look at this. You know, imagine sitting in a crowded local court in Australia, and this happens. Names have been changed. Court officer, I call the matter of James Burnett. JB.
Can I stop there? Can I just stop there? Never have I been, and I've probably been in front of the court 300 times, have I ever heard a court officer call someone's name. Because the court officer is whom? Prosecution? The clerk? The clerk doesn't call a name. Prosecution may nod at someone to come forward, but it is always the magistrate who then says, are you the person's so-and-so? So that's verbatimly incorrect, but carry on.
That's interesting because it's written by this fellow, which I think we should call attention to as well. You know, David Halpern was a magistrate and judicial trainer from 98 to 2020. So he's got 22 years of experience, and in his opening line, he's gotten something wrong, apparently. So it doesn't really bode well.
I've never seen it. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I can't say that I have either. Daryl, have you seen a court officer do this?
In Victoria, the assistant to the magistrate usually calls out whoever it is going to be heard next. So when you walk into the courtroom, you usually go up to the assistant, who's the first one who opens the courtroom up, and you sort of let yourself be known that you're there. So he or she ticks you off, and then you sit in the public gallery and wait for her or him to call your name. So usually the magistrate or the registrar just sits there and waits. Once a case is finished and they start another one, then the assistant calls out the name. But doesn't
the judge turn around and say, are you the person's?
Oh, in some cases they do that. In other cases lately they've just been accepting, okay, you're up here at the bar table, right, let's go for it. Yeah. Or your representative.
Well, that comes into it later here. Yeah, go on.
So, you know, obviously JB being James Burnett, the pseudonym because names have been changed apparently. So I am the personage known by the name, but do not identify for the purposes of this court. Judge, are you James Burnett? You know, and it's interesting. They've written it properly in this case. There's no all caps, you know, which is generally how they write your name when there are summonings you and things to that effect. I am known by the name, but do not identify. I challenge the jurisdiction of this court as the Queen did not personally appoint you. The Magna Carta states that I am a free man of our realm for ourselves and have distrained to do more service for a knight's fee or for any other free tenement than is due. Judge, if you are not James Burnett...
Sorry, if I can interject there. And then when they do introductions, it's not just one side. They also introduce the prosecution side. And when they introduce prosecutions, they usually say, you know, initials G, RAVINO for QPS, or Smith, initials LJ for, I don't know, Mike Burns and whatever lawyers, right? That always put their first name first. So when you're self-represented, you don't walk in and say, for the record, my name is Ward, initial H. Right? So there's a convoluted acceptance there, especially with a self-represented litigant. Anyway, I'm just going to pull up on these things because it's like it's been fabricated as to what actually happened.
Yeah.
To suit the narrative.
So, you know, judge then says, if you are not James Burnett, then I will assume that you are not in court and will convict you of this traffic matter in your absence. Now, okay, I believe you had a point there.
So, yeah, this article was written February 2026. Now, the precedent for Queensland that was made by my application in HZX versus QPS QSC 168, that was also based on Kelly versus Fiander in Western Australia. You cannot, if someone appears, like Daryl just said, they're just carrying on now, because you can't just carry on as though someone's not there if they're standing there. And that precedent or that judgment actually proves that. Yet this is a professor still, a professor in the universities at the moment, has not taken heed to that precedent, which I know he knows about because he's best buds with Robert Sudi. So he is literally in writing here, if the journalist or whatever has got it right, he's actually saying here, I will assume that you are not in court. Now, Kelly versus Fiander and HZX actually says you can't do that. My interpretation anyway.
Yeah. There's a law that the Supreme Court quoted in Western Australia that very clearly says you have to treat the individual as being there. If they haven't answered to that name, but it's clear that it is who it is, that it's supposed to be, then they just have to move on.
Well, that's what happened in HZX versus QPS, which is a bit of a different spin on it, and they have changed the judgment twice, I think, but that person was charged under their maiden name rather than their married name, and then tried to rectify that, and their bail was removed. And this principal prosecutor, Sheena Gravino, and Magistrate Dwyer sent this individual to jail for 40 days, saying that she did not appear in court, yet she was standing at the bar table. She was speaking to the judge, and then they did a approach warrant where 10 police officers, I was there, stood outside the court to arrest her for not being in court.
Fucking retarded, isn't it?
I mean,
and again, like, where's your common sense as a police officer to look at this and go, this is retarded?
Officer, and I said, who called the police? Did you call the police? I've been told by security you did. And she went, it's got to be the name on the this and this and this, and go ahead, Miss Ward. Right? She was just, you know, Elvira, the Black Widow's spider. She thought she was so confident. And that somewhat backfired because she's named in actually doing a complete deprivation of liberty to an individual that was put in custody for 40 days because of her and the magistrate's actions. And that's clearly identified by the Chief Justice of Queensland, Helen Boskills, what the word appearance means. And he has just, in this article, in his little charade here, contradicted the Chief Justice of Queensland. And he's still a professor teaching people in university.
Well, in the Kelly case, they highlighted that there is a law in Western Australia that requires the court to go ahead. So what this guy that's done this article that we're looking at here, he's actually saying essentially he's fulfilling the definition, not law definition, but definition that the system's come up with of a sovereign citizen. So
Correct.
The magistrate has stepped into that realm of sovereign citizen by ignoring what the parliament has provided when it comes to dealing with people in the courts and whether they're there or not.
Might be. That's right. And that's what ZX says. It was difficult as these people might be, and they might hold up the court or whatever it is. If they appeared, they appeared.
Mm.
Anyway, it gets better as you go along.
Yep. So, JB then says you cannot do that because the royal coat of arms behind you means that it is English law I must answer to. Judge says, last chance, are you James Burnett? JB, only for the purpose of this disclosure and not in any legal or corporate sense without the capitalization of my name.
Again, and, he's threatened him. Last chance of what?
Yeah.
Who's he talking to? Exactly.
What's the ultimatum here? Again, it's a last chance, or you get to find out, or else,
Yeah.
And instantly, I'm thinking of fucking Demolition Man, where the cop is getting the instructions from the computer and add the words or else.
Well, it happened to me. Wow. I tried something different to this, but I asked what person I was that day, and because I know verbatimly that the word person means corporation, entity, known at law, and I have a legal document that says so. And so they were, trying to say we're going to hold you in contempt and you're this and that, and I just said, well, if I'm not here, who are you actually talking to? And I looked over my shoulder and I'm like, well, I'm not here. So if I'm not here, how do you hold me in contempt of court, and who am I? To be held in contempt. It's just it's an indoctrination, and I think it has spun a few of the people, police officers, prosecutions, when the logic was put to them so basically that they were a bit dumbfounded. Well, who am I talking to if she's not here? Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're standing on the left-hand side of the bar, you're the defendant. And why do they have to say, well, you're either this person or you're the defendant? Are you the defendant? Well, if you're standing on the left-hand side, are you the defendant? Why do you have to answer it?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it gets more ridiculous as it goes on.
So where were we?
Do you plead guilty or not guilty?
Yeah, do you plead? Which is good because I've just managed to pull up the Transformers scenario that we were talking about yesterday. Do you plead guilty or not guilty to the charge of driving unregistered? Which is an interesting concept. Because even in this Transformers movie that I've.
It is fortunate he is so foolish.
Where? Hang on. Oh, that's the wrong Transformers. Sorry, wrong one. I'll have to recount this from memory then. In the Transformers, it was a case of, guilty or innocent, was the verdict. And everybody seems to be found innocent and then dropped into the Sharkticon pit. So it's a wonderful little kangaroo court scenario for children to learn in 1986. I certainly learnt my piece about, bullshit courts as a child from watching that wonderful Transformers movie. Sorry, I couldn't show you the proper clip. I'll have to come back to that a later day. I downloaded the wrong bloody movie.
So you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, right?
Mm.
Innocent until proven guilty. But when you go into the court, they say, how do you plead? And you have to say not guilty.
Mm.
So you don't say I'm innocent because you haven't proven me guilty yet. You're not guilty. And then if you're charged with not guilty, that doesn't mean you've been proven innocent. So you don't really have an option.
Well, can't you say something? I don't know. Maybe it's just a little bit me being tongue in cheek because I do that sort of thing. I identify as innocent until proven guilty. Why do I have to enter a plea? Isn't it up to them to friggin' prove their case?
Oh, you sovereign citizen, you sovereign citizen. Right? So they'll point the finger and sometimes make a plea on your behalf because you won't make a plea, but then there's been no disclosure to you. They then get, well, in Queensland, a bench sheet or a notice to appear, and then they walk it from the bar table and hand it up to the judge, and it's not even filed in court. So they're making an oral thing, and you don't even have the bench sheet because you don't get that usually until you've made the first plea. When you make, if you say, oh, I'm not pleading until I have whatever, well, you have to, because unless you do, you're not getting the brief of evidence, which the brief of evidence is just hearsay anyway. It's signed under 1 capital A, which is really for indictable offences only, as I understand. You can read the legislation, 110A of the Justices Act, and that's only if the witness is unable to attend, but that statement is used in lieu thereof. So these statements are what you don't get them for, they say 28 days or 2 days. So you're standing in front of the court. You've got a 3-line thing that gets filed in the court. They then hand up the complaint to the judge, who's supposed to be there to preside and know nothing about it until trial. And everything sits in a box under the desk. And you're meant to make a plea. Oh, not guilty. I'm guilty. Or they take you out the back for a little plea bargain, which we don't call bribery. We call it without prejudice because we can't talk about it once we get out. And just sort of say, look, if you plead guilty, it'll be $200, no conviction recorded. Otherwise, you're going to need to get a lawyer, legal aid. If you don't meet the income barrier that you haven't got any money, then you're going to have to get your own lawyer to represent you or represent yourself. And you're going to be found guilty, don't you? So why don't you just accept the $200 no conviction recorded, which to most people think no conviction recorded means, okay, pay the fine, I'm out. No. It all gets recorded. The whole shebang gets recorded inside the court by prosecutions who are not even legal representatives, then giving you advice. If you plead guilty, $200, would that be giving legal advice?
Yeah, it certainly sounds like it. Well, I mean, that's my perception.
Yeah, and then you stand in front of the court and you go, okay, this is hypothetical. I'll accept that I can't be bothered getting a lawyer. It's going to cost me $20,000. Possibly did do that, $200, no conviction. You know what? I'm done. Fine, I'll do it. All right? So they do that. It gets recorded. You go away and you go happy days until the next time it happens. And it happens again and again until you rack up this whole thing. And they all know what they're doing. And then they say, have you pled guilty of your own accord? Oh, no, I wasn't bribed, Your Honour. No one spoke to me. Definitely, I made my own decision. No one's had anything that spoken to me. I definitely, because I know that it would be $200 without conviction because I know this stuff. Because, ignorance of the law is no excuse, but let's pay $5,000 for a lawyer to tell us what it is.
Exactly. What are your thoughts, Darryl?
Oh, it's a bit of a shit show, isn't it? The whole process that they're going through, and the difference between each state is bizarre. It's just ridiculous, and really, it's. I can see essentially where they can bring about the right to call a plea of guilty or not guilty in one sense, and you can actually use it to your advantage. Like we've got a case coming up fairly soon relating to a speeding fine, and the chap got a speeding fine. He was doing something like 6 kilometres an hour over the limit, and he was in a car, and he got a ticket. He paid it, and that ticket was $350 odd, about $356, I think it was. And then about a month later, he was in the work truck, and he got done for the same, in pretty much the same spot. There was a camera there and pipped him for about 57 in the same zone.
Yeah.
So then he got that ticket, and the car one was 256, and the truck one was 356.
Wow.
And if you're
So
driving
it's
a
a bigger
car,
fine because
it's
he's driving a heavy
1,000.
rigid or something, a heavy
Yeah.
vehicle.
It was only a 3-ton, or it was about a 4-ton truck. So
So
he's
that's
gone.
a medium to light, somewhere in that
Yeah.
effect then.
So he's just ticked the box saying, "Hang on, I want an explanation of this, so I'm going to take this to court." And of course, he's also got a motorbike. So if he, I'm not encouraging him to do this, but if he went on the motorbike in the same street and copped the same fine for doing the same speed, it would be, you'd think, $100 less.
Yeah.
So, of course, the best thing in that situation to call the system out is to sort of go, okay, I'm going to plead guilty. Yeah, okay, I'm guilty. But please explain the difference between the vehicles and the amount you're actually charging.
And the arbitrary application of the law.
Yeah, it's just like, come on, guys, this is actually, we're opening up a can of worms here, because this goes a lot deeper. So we need to, and this is what the courts are there for in that sense, to call them out. And if the court doesn't have jurisdiction to essentially answer that question, then of course there is a manner and form of taking it out of that jurisdiction on a question of law and putting it into the proper jurisdiction to get either the Attorney General or someone within the system to answer as to why there's this difference.
It's not only that, it's also the juristic entity, which is the Vassallo versus New South Wales fines. So someone had a 20-kilometre speeding ticket and he challenged the standing of the New South Wales fines, or in Queensland it'd be the TORM, the Transport Department, or QPS. None of them are actually juristic entities with standing as a person, corporation, entity known at law that can sue or be sued. And he won that case in the Supreme Court.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's not a conspiracy theory. That's a judgment.
Yeah.
There you go.
And this is what we hang our hats off. So what the courts say, because they're the sort of final arbiter with respect to, these laws that the legislator punch out and seem to punch out at a rate of knots.
In Brisbane, apparently in Brisbane, don't quote me on this, it was on the radio and I didn't catch it completely, and I haven't done, whether it was the last month or the last week, it's irrelevant. $26 million in parking ticket fines. Whether it's a month is bad enough. If it's a week, it's even worse.
Yeah.
$20 million in Brisbane City.
Yeah. You can see why they're doing this. It's a money making scam, yes. And again, the people who are, in the case of the council, it's their job to provide adequate services and to make sure that businesses have adequate parking places available for their clientele. So to me, it seems willful negligence to, on their part that they can benefit from. So what's their motivation to actually provide proper services, i.e. in this case, parking, so that people have the facilities to park? What's their motivation to do the right thing by the community if they obviously able to put in parking fines as a solution to their inability to provide the adequate service? It's ridiculous.
Well, I challenged parking fine in Airlie Beach, and we're literally 3 kilometres down the main road. There's a new beach being built down one end of the road, and the ticket that I challenged, I said that there was an alarm going off on a boat that we had to attend to. My partner worked on the boat, and there was no loading zone, there was no disabled zone, there was nothing to get to the boat. So I parked in a driveway of a would-be house block facade in the driveway, and I was fined $336. And when I actually called the council up, they said, you could have parked in the sailing club car park. And I said, I'm sure the sailing club would be really happy to know that their guests are being recommended by council to park there.
Yeah.
And then she said, well, you could park at Waterson Way. And I said, so I'm going to get out at Waterson Way. That's going to take me 20 minutes to walk to a boat that's got an emergency because you don't have car parking. Oh, okay. And that's the lagoon car park for the guests that go to the lagoon for a swim. So you're 100% right. How can they charge you if they haven't provided the facilities in the first place?
Exactly. It's only their primary purpose.
I like that one.
See,
anyway, go back to the article.
Yes. So where were we? We were old mate says I was not driving. I was journeying, traversing in some manner, and to plead would consent to the corporate entity known as Corporatus Australis. So that's a new one. I haven't heard of that one. Anybody heard the term Corporatus Australis?
It's not true. People say traveling in their automobile. So he's really picked out the worst of the worst and made sure he's not in trouble here.
Yeah.
Well, a good idea at this point, because I hear this too much, where the system has incorporated itself. Government has always been a corporation.
Yeah.
Okay. And to explain that better, it's a corporation aggregate / sole. Right. Yeah. So that means that office, be it the monarch or the
crown,
minister,
the office of the state. Yeah.
Yeah. That's an office in perpetuity. Right. Okay. So you've got the government corporation being aggregate / sole, but then they have been given the authority through the people and the constitution of the land to then regulate trading corporations, financial corporations, and foreign corporations. Right? So what this highlights more than anything is this privatization scheme that's been operating since the early 1990s. What that is, it's a shift of consolidated revenue, right? So in every state, we have a consolidated revenue fund, and that's written into the constitution of each state. And in the Commonwealth, we've got a consolidated revenue fund, right? And that's where all taxes, all monies goes to fund that corporation aggregate sole, which is the government. And then from that fund, the money goes out to the different departments to provide the services to the people, right? So what's happened is they have gone, okay, we're going to shut consolidated revenue down, essentially, and we're now going to get the punter to pay directly to the trading corporation for the services. Well, hang on. They're only in law, they're only allowed to collect. So if you get a rates notice from the Shire of whatever, and you make out a check, right, from your checking account to the Department of Treasury and Finance, because they're the department that oversee consolidated revenue, then you send that to the Shire, because they're in law collecting that payment. And then they hand it on to the Department of Treasury and Finance, because they're obligated in law to put it into consolidated revenue. Once the funds are cleared, then they let the department know that it's all good and it's all been paid for. That's how it's supposed to work. But when they handed it over to the private trading corporations and foreign and financial, that's when we lost access to essentially what feeds government. And this is what we've got to confront. So when we send that check off for that rates payment, that's our lawful obligation fulfilled, right? Now, if they send that back saying, hang on, whoa, no, we want you to make it out to the Shire of Upper Kambukta West, right? Well, hang on. No. If I follow that instruction, then I'm actually aiding and abetting in fraud.
Interesting.
Right? Because the law provides very clearly that all rates, all taxes are to go to that one spot for the state and for that one spot for the Commonwealth. So when you fill out your tax check,
114 of the Constitution, doesn't it clearly provide that's the case? So you don't pay rates to the council, you pay it to the Consolidated Revenue Fund.
No, it's Section 81 of the Commonwealth Constitution. So you just need to look up your state constitution and just do the basic word search and just put Consolidated Fund, and you'll see the section of the state constitution which lays out the obligation, right? So you fulfilled your obligation. Now, if that entity, that shire or the commissioner for tax or whatever department's requiring a payment, if they have set up their own bank account, well, hang on, you can't do that as such. That bank account can't be filled by our money. It can only be filled by the Department of Finance and Trade, of Treasury and Finance, with respect to the department's ability to then provide the services to the general public. And this is where this whole mess has come about. And of course, the punters have gone, oh yeah, well, they're a corporate entity. Oh, the evidence is in the Security Exchange Commission in Washington, that the Corporation of Australia. Yeah, they're indicating the aggregate corporation, the aggregate / sole, for the purposes of security and trade with the United States of America. Okay, so this is, we need to focus back on what I've been saying, which is all we have an obligation to do with respect to our relationship between us and the government is when they demand a payment, we have one place to focus on, and that's Consolidated Revenue Fund and no other. So if we get a demand on a invoice that says you can post pay or B pay this, it doesn't have who that account is made out to. It's just got the barcode or the Q code or whatever, and we just blindly go in and pay it. So hang on, no, that's not how it's supposed to work, guys. The payment system is very straightforward.
The book that my dog just chewed, if I can read here what a bill is, right? So unconditional order in writing. A bill of exchange must be in order to pay, and it must not stipulate any conditions. Example, a bill is invalid if it contains a clause stating that it is payable provided receipt form at the foot. How many bills do we get that has a perforated line with a receipt on the foot? Because if you accept that and send it off, so be it. It's in under the act. It's that's the big pink bit that's highlighted there.
You want to hold that up again? I've just full screened you so people can see it, and just a little bit to the right, and it's backwards because you haven't flipped your camera. Sorry,
I'm not very good at that. But yeah,
it's all right. We might have to look into fixing that for future.
However, a bill stating that receipt on the back must be signed, then is valid. It is valid, right? So we're getting all these bills. No one signs at the bottom. They're not even statements. They're not even invoices. Why do we go, I got a bill from Telstra the other day? It's not a bill. right?
it's a very confusing term, the word bill, because there's the bill is passed Parliament as if it was and then there's the bills you get that are asking for money. I'm confused by the terminology. It's one of those things. Actually, I remember thinking about that a long time ago, and I've just forgotten to re-ask that question.
Well, in fact, a bill is the lawful way to offset a demand in law.
Yep.
When we, in 1999, this word invoice appeared. Okay,
With
so you
Gs.
think, hang on, invoice, right. So it's your inner voice. They're now acting as your inner voice.
Yep.
Pay this demand. You sort of go, okay. So me being me, I went straight to the Bills of Exchange Act and had a look for the word invoice. It doesn't appear. Not there.
Oh. So it's a new made-up word then?
Well, it's a word that indicates a new system that kicked in 1999. Yeah, you look at the GST. This was their big promotion that John Howard pushed forward, the GST. This new tax that it was a compulsory.
The one that he said he was never going to do. Yeah,
yeah, the one that they had. Many countries had looked at and gone, "Hang on, we can't do this." But good old Johnny Howard, he pushed it through, and we copped this tax on everything, which just caused the whole system to pretty much come to a halt and go, "What the hell's just happened?"
Yeah.
What are we going? How are we going to afford everything now? Because every component in a building or a motor car or anything has just gone up 10%. So that meant that item now just costs so much more. It's not just 10%; it's 10% on 10% on. It's just insane. And
on
then
the velocity of the trade,
they installed, and we looked at the Public Service Act, and hello, the Commissioner of Taxation appeared as a public servant. Hang on, well, what was going on prior to that? No. What was he? Up from 1973 to 1999, he was just in limbo land. It's like, what? It's a non-legal entity. And you go back to the previous court cases in that pre-1973, and it was called the Federal Commissioner of Taxation. Right? And there's a raft of court cases that cover that. You sort of go, well, what the hell's... And this is under this pseudo system that they set up. So in 1999, with the introduction of the GST, this whole system had just done a complete 180-degree turn into fairyland, which we've been sort of combating ever since. And this is where they were sort of setting in concrete this privatisation scheme, ignore consolidated revenue, allow these other entities to come in and administrate governance for us. And you sort of go, wow.
Go on, Doris. So they use the people in between. So, they'll get up and say, I'm for QPS, I'm for ATO. And Justice Martin in Queensland rightly said on, I think it was the 14th of September, there are only three people: State of Queensland, the Crown, or the office of the Commissioner. So if you were to go on to Osley now, or go on to Jade, or anywhere where there's precedents, you've got QPS versus Queensland Police versus Victorian Police versus ATO versus, they're non-juristic entities with absolutely zero, and I mean zero, standing under that title. And Justice Martin, I have the transcript, said to at that point it was QPS, Child Safety, and someone else, can't remember now, and he actually said, just because something has a letterhead that says it's something doesn't mean it is. You need to go home and work out who you actually work for. Verbatim of transcript. So we have thousands and thousands and thousands of cases, if not the people themselves believe. So a police officer believes the QPS is bringing the charge against the person. No. So I understand. Could be wrong. What would I know? It's the informant, which is the constable, the officer on the day, then tells his senior sergeant then becomes the complainant that tells prosecution, who's done a 3 months TAFE course in prosecutions, and then, because anyone can bring a prosecution, they go to the court. But in actual fact, the senior sergeant, if in an appeal, becomes the respondent, and it's the individual that's bringing it. There is nothing in the Justices Act that says what the definition of public prosecution is. And that's without going into the understanding of what public means, Anderson versus Commonwealth. But it is the individual, and those police officers don't know. Anyone working for the state, teacher, nurse, police officer, most of them are good. Go and get your own insurance, because if there's a criminal matter, you're not protected. It's a fact.
It's a bit of a shit show.
Yeah.
You know, and it's sad because we want confidence in so many things that we're failing at the moment, which again, we go back to that article. They're missing the point of why people are turning away.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
what we spoke about them sitting in their ivory towers and actually missing the entire point of why. Rather than pointing the finger, there it is, Daryl, up on the wall, the dirty hands doctrine. So the doctrine, do you want to say it, Daryl? Ex tupi causae non ortibiation denies any remedy to litigation, including a prosecutor who does not come to the court with clean hands. If your own actions is very unlawful and very unethical, if you come to the court with dirty hands, best not to question others' legality, morality and ethics. And what we've got is a system that basically can, on reasonable suspicion or an alleged circumstance, bring something to court. And they can push you through years, 2 years, 3 years, whatever they want, however long it takes. And if they don't believe they can get it over the line, they can just say, oh, we're withdrawing due to a lack of evidence. And they walk away. It's happened to me, I think, 8 times in their attempts to get me.
Yeah. And that's how they avoid anyone getting something through the courts, is to just drop it so that there's no record. Yeah,
there's no evidence because they haven't filed any evidence. So how do you actually run a case if there's no evidence filed in the court?
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, what in a lot of cases you can see, it's just they're just flexing their muscles and showing, look, we can do whatever the hell we want and torture you. It's basically what they're doing. It's
Camilla Harris said it. Camilla Harris, what was she, Vice President of America? She actually said, I used to be a police prosecutor, and by the tick of one hand, I can make you line up in front of the court for years and years and years, and then either convict you or let you go. That's how powerful I am. And they do it all the time, because then if you want to go malicious prosecution, oh no, you can't do that because there was reasonable suspicion.
Yeah, right.
And they hang their hat on this. And this is the problem with the system. And that's why, what did you say, Daryl? $350 for a 6-kilometre speed ticket in an ever-going, ever-moving body that's looking for kangaroos, that's looking at the signs, that's looking at the advertising, that's looking in the rear vision mirror, that's looking down at your Speedo, blah, blah, blah. Sorry that I moved in that 0.46 of a second,
Yeah, and again, that over the top policing of speed limits has people watching the fucking Speedo instead of the road.
Yep.
Tell me how that's improving road safety, please.
Oh, no, I know. When I got 6 kilometres speeding tickets, I got a new car and wasn't used to it. And I drove right through Queensland and hours on end. And in the end, I was so paranoid, I was constantly looking down at my Speedo, which became more dangerous than actually looking where I'm supposed to, because if you think about it, it is 0.46 of a second. If you work out from 0 to 100 what your car can do, it's impossible, and that's why the 10% thing should still be there. If it's under 10%, no argument.
Yeah.
That's right.
But the system is broken, and if we go back to the article, probably better.
So old mate here is I was the magistrate in this case, and it went on like this for 45 minutes. James Burnett is a so-called sovereign citizen. Well, who called him that? You? And cases like this are becoming more common in courts. The group, again, it's like everybody who does this is part of the same group. We all hang out on the weekend at the golf course like these mob.
Yeah.
The group uses pseudo law, otherwise known as nonsense law, according to them, that has no basis in fact, to obfuscate and frustrate judicial manners. Because that's the only purpose, obviously, is to just be a pain in the ass. That's basically what he's saying, which is ridiculous. It's not. Well, who was the pain in the ass who started the procedural matter in the first place? Let's look at when there's a fight at school, right? Who threw the first punch? It even happened in the fucking Police Academy movies. Who threw the first fucking punch? Come on, think about this. Who's the instigator? All right. In the process, they are clogging Australian courts, something I saw many times as a magistrate and now observe as a legal academic. So who are sovereign citizens? That's a wonderful question. I'm still waiting for a legitimate answer. Let's see if we can get it answered. They cover
in that video. Yeah, they try and depict it anyway. Go on.
Okay. They cover a broad range of perspectives, from sophisticated to naive, from Christian to isolationist. That's an interesting one. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. However, the common theme is a belief that the laws that apply to everyone else do not apply to them. That's interesting, because I feel like that's the system in itself seems to think that the laws don't apply to them, especially when we've got parliamentary pedophile protection, things like that, for instance. Who thinks the law doesn't apply to them exactly?
Well, who has immunity? Right?
Yeah,
and who
exactly.
can say what they want on the floor of Parliament, and who can ridicule and then lie? I mean, Albanese did it the other day, 4 days apart, and what he actually said, and they can say it with a straight face, but HZX or someone in jail for 40 days. Right? And they're worried about someone challenging or clogging the system. And then that begs the difference. Everyone arrives at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning, criminal court, and they sit there all day.
Yeah,
all day, because we're clogging the system, right? the sovereign citizens are clogging the system. Everyone has the right to self-represent.
The system created the problem.
They sit there they could be as innocent, they could be guilty. I'm not saying which one, but they get there at, it says 8:30 usually, and your text message always says, Heidi needs to appear, or Daryl needs to appear. It never says Ms. Ward, right, has to appear in court on your Queensland text message. And then you sit there from 9 o'clock, and if you're a self-represented litigant, from what I've worked out, it goes in alphabetical order. So good luck with W or a Z name, because you're there all friggin' day.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
but then they could.
My speeding fine, it certainly wasn't alphabetical, because I was fighting a speeding fine and the nature of the letters that I've written, they seem to put me at the end for some reason. My last name starts with a B. Shouldn't I be up the front?
Yeah. Well,
can't help but feel they didn't really want me in that court or anybody to see what I was going to do.
So then it begs the question, why we only have this little courthouse in every town, and we only have the one magistrate, and then occasionally we'll get a circuit court magistrate, and there's this big clogging, but we can spend $120 million on a siren that's going to go off on 27th of July to inform people of a said tsunami or cyclone, right?
Not good.
No. So go back to the article anyway.
Yeah. So answering the question. So, however, the common theme is the belief the laws don't apply to them like everybody else do, because they are sovereign, again, that's another term we can look into, but they maintain they can remove themselves from laws relating to traffic, debts, family law, and tax by a range of legal maneuvers and reliance on ancient legal texts and principles. Now,
ancient, called the Constitution. Interesting.
Yeah, the Constitution's an ancient text, apparently. So anyway, you know, even though there have been no numeric studies, it is universally accepted. Oh, universally accepted. What, by the university, perhaps? You know,
We'll get on to them in a minute. Yeah.
did anybody phone Mars and ask them if they accept this phenomenon as well? But it's apparently
Numerical studies.
yeah, it
Well,
is
that's the point
universally
is,
accepted. This
what are
phenomenon
the
is
numerical?
increasing, particularly in local courts in rural and regional areas. Why rural and regional areas?
What are the numerical studies? So, from what I can see, it's anywhere between 90 and 98% of people are found guilty or plead guilty in a lower court. Let's say it's 90. Where are the stats to that 10% who appeal or judicial review or go down the other side to say that they won? There are none. And then how many of those people actually challenged it all the way? What happened in between? And it's no amazing thing to get to the High Court because it means the entire bloody system before you failed. Right? The High Court is only when it's a serious question of law. So what are all the rest of them doing?
It's a very good
What
question.
are they doing?
So sovereign citizens became more common in Australian courts, probably because they've suddenly decided to name people that, you know, they pigeonholed everybody. It doesn't stand along with them, their ridiculous rules as sovereign citizens, clearly. In Australian courts during the, what's that, ructions? Not familiar with that. Not familiar with that word.
The ructions being the disturbance surroundings, yeah.
I should have twigged to that yesterday when I read it, but I breezed over it. A riotous disturbance, a noisy quarrel. All right, there we go.
There you go.
New word for the day, ladies and gentlemen. Surrounding COVID restrictions, where a growing number of people resisted or at least resented government shutdowns. Well, if you didn't fucking resent it, there's something fucking wrong with you as far as I'm concerned.
What do they have to put COVID in capital letters? Why is COVID in capital letters? What? Because it doesn't stand out enough, isn't it? You know.
Well, I'm not sure, to be honest. Isn't it an acronym of some sort? You know, it's the language of the dead, and it was designed to kill people. Just a guess. Just, you know, I'm just throwing meat pies at a skeleton here, seeing what sticks.
Nice work.
Thank you. I'll do my best. Just give me, just add alcohol. That's all you need. It's amazing. So anyway, obviously government shut down and sought out fellow travelers of dissent. Yeah. It is dissent. I thought dissent was with an E, to be honest. Travelers of dissent. So obviously, you know, they're blaming COVID restrictions for bringing out dissent amongst the people. You know, well, maybe you should have a look at what you fucking criminals did. You know, and again, obviously, this cockknocker who's written this shit, so supported such draconian friggin' measures, you know, because of the way he's written this. He said, oh, it's okay for the government to just destroy people's lives, lock you down like a fucking herded animal, you know, and accuse you of being sick when you're not.
And
but
even
it was
if you
okay
got it,
to go out and stand in huge friggin' lines and get tested to see if you had the most deadly virus, because you wouldn't know how deadly it was unless you got a fucking test. Well, I mean,
and
come on, this is retarded.
The new study or new court thing that I was reading the other day, and I know someone personally, he was a Muay Thai boxer, got really bad anaphylactic symptoms from the first vaccine, and tried to use that as a way not to have the second one. He was a school teacher as well, and his option was to go to emergency and have the ambulance standing outside. And there's something like thousands of cases where this has happened, but that's okay.
Yeah, I had the stories. You know, I think it was Wayne from the What the Fuck Boys was saying, you know, like, because he fell for it and went there and got his jab, and while he was sitting there waiting to see if anybody was going to have a reaction, somebody fucking did, and they're carting him out, and everybody's sitting in the room going, "Holy shit! I hope that doesn't happen to me."
And
I
they
mean,
still
what
went and
kind
got
of ridiculous fucking torturous situation is that? You know, like,
Well, that's I think it's called Russian roulette, isn't it?
yeah, that's exactly how I described it as myself. Especially when you see, like, you know, the data that come out of New Zealand, some of those batches had a 20% mortality rate. That's playing Russian roulette with a 5-shooter. And I don't know if old mate's here. Somebody told me what the gun was that actually has a 5-round chamber. When I mentioned that the other day, I can't remember it. Sorry, I don't think old mate's here today. I haven't seen him. Anyway. But yeah, it is. It really was. It was Russian roulette. And again, it reminded me of the suicide booth scenario in fucking Futurama. So I think it's the first episode in Futurama, queuing up for the suicide booth.
Yeah.
Yep. Wow. How accurate were they in that prediction?
Bang on.
So anyway, it is important to note that nowhere in any court in Australia or in these jurisdictions overseas, because actually I skipped over the bit here where this is not just an Australian phenomenon. Courts in the United States, New Zealand, Canada, and Europe have seen similar increases. Well, what does that tell you? It's not just an isolated scenario here in Australia. It's like the whole Western society's gone, you know what? We've had enough of you friggin' criminals treating us like shit. So, I mean, again, completely ignoring the symptom. You know, it's just like the doctors. They're throwing pills at the fucking problem instead of trying to figure out what caused it.
Yeah.
In their ivory tower.
Yeah, from their ivory towers, you know, sitting there firing them like sniper bullets, you know, fucking, you know, shooting.
I'll get on to something at the end of this as to how contradictory this individual is with his friends that are in the video in this link. So there's a video there with Professor McIntyre.
Well, it's 46 minutes long. Is there a specific?
It was the Four Corners they did on TV. Yeah.
I never watched it. I don't think I could.
You'll just get angry. You'll just get angry. And of course, they pick the worst. They pick Johnny Q, who can't. You know, they say he's a former law student and he's gathered moment. Look, he's doing what he's doing, but they've picked literally the ones that they can make a mockery of. Yeah,
that's right. And this guy, wasn't this guy a fucking criminal who's doing the bloody interview himself, the reporting himself?
Yeah. So
I mean, you know, birds of a feather flock together, eh?
Yeah. So you can see, if you see with your own eyes, you can see the narrative built here. And you know, McIntyre, he just seems so indoctrinated, and he's referencing, you know, there was a killing in Texas, and you go, how many people are in the world, blah, 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 and they talk about the trains and what happened there, but it was later said they weren't sovereign citizens. It's just literally, it's embarrassing for them. Yep.
The first sovereign citizen report that I saw came out, or probably would have been about 2014 or 15, and it was Lee Sales on ABC 7:30 report, and she highlighted this sovereign citizen group over in the US that had taken out a couple of coppers, and you know
that's the one.
Crazy. And then she said, now we're going to focus on the sovereign citizens here in Australia, and she went down to the. No, redhead, Lee Sales. And she went down to the courts, the Supreme Court in Sydney, and standing out the front of the courts with a T-shirt saying jury trials and handing out pamphlets was this retired dentist by the name of John Wilson. And that was the big, nasty sovereign citizen here in Australia. And this guy's just saying, well, hang on, I believe we need jury trials in Australian courts. You know, we've been disconnected from this, you know, the judicial system has disconnected the jury trials. And, you know, he was quite passionate about this. But hang on, you've compared chalk to cheese here.
Yep.
How can you justify this little old retired dentist gentleman standing there handing out pamphlets, wearing a T-shirt? Well, you know, to someone killing police officers, it just sorry.
But not only that, at the end of the day, you know, they're spending more time doing this, and it seems to be David Halpern that's front and center. He's every article, the one that, you know, I was with Desi Freeman in the Melbourne paper when I live in North Queensland, and the irony is, in my case, and I'm still going.
You're part of the group, remember? You know,
I'm dangerous. Bad,
everybody's been
and
pigeonholed
dangerous.
into the sovereign citizen pigeonhole. You know, that's your brick that's been labelled and stuck in the wall. Yeah.
So mad, bad, and dangerous. I have had 18 charges from never seeing the inside of a court. 18 charges. The first one I won in under 11 minutes. It was placed on record the most trivial matter seen in 3 decades in Australia. They dropped the other charges. Then they went on. Then they've removed them, and they've kept trying. Yes, they've managed to catch me on a couple, which are currently in the Supreme Court. And I have filed for a certiorari, and they're arguing, well, the argument is whether a writ of certiorari is constitutionally entrenched in that way or how it works. That's another conversation. But basically, if I win that, they'll disappear, and I should, because the facts are on the table and it's using their laws. And then we have the Legal Service Commissioner. So in my case, everything I have done and learnt is because I was telling the truth from the beginning. I didn't have the money, or wouldn't spend the money initially. Don't have it now. Had it then, but wouldn't spend it. To prove my innocence. And the system, what I've learnt, and obviously lucky enough to meet Daryl back in 2019 when it all started, it's so broken, and they are not seeing it.
Well, more to the point, they're defending the fact that it's broken. They know it's broken. They have to. I mean, they're in massive damage control. This is like a dinghy out in the middle of the ocean with so many fucking holes in it, and they've run out of band-aids.
Yeah, so I've made a complaint about David Halpern to the Commissioner of the Office of New South Wales. And I'd love to read it to you, but it actually says private and confidential. So that is pending. The gentleman that wrote that article is currently under investigation by way of complaint. What comes of it, I don't know, because he has written an article. So this is how professional they are. And even this website, whatever it was called, Australian something, if you go on to subscribe, it actually says all the articles written here are written by professionals and professors and blah, blah, blah. If you go on to the Harry Hobbs, Heidi Ward, I think I've emailed it to you, Mark, University of New South Wales Professor's Night.
Yeah, let me just say that.
You can Google it, Harry Hobbs and Heidi Ward. This
Right,
is this.
so I've just got to save it so I can bring it up. Sorry.
So the same guy that wrote this article, Halpern, the guy in the video, McIntyre, and there's another guy, Hobbs. They had a special night, and guess who was the introduction? The Dangerous Me.
Oh.
Introduction. Yep.
Oh, that's right. We've brought this up before, haven't we?
Yep. So the website details in a series. I don't even have a website. They can't even get the services. So these people are writing articles and verbatimly lying. See how they've got HZX? They don't put versus QPS and give the actual citation because they don't want people to know. And what that Professor Halpern has just said in that article contradicts what happened at that university night.
And and again, I remember we picked this apart, and it's basically them quoting their own fucking works from their own colleagues and shit. It's just a giant back scratching fucking, fuckfest.
Well,
really.
this might be a good time to talk about, i.e., the Chrysophilia government saying what an amazing job with Daniel Morecambe, that for the first time in history we have a sex offenders list It's very, I haven't seen it, can't find it, but I might not be. But I just happened to find this book about 3 years ago from 1998 in a bookshop in Youngborough at the foot of Atherton Tablelands. And there it is, my friends. Oh, yes, Chris Fully Government, the first person.
Reading people.
Yeah, but it's amazing because there's pictures inside this book.
Yeah, I remember we seen that picture, and funnily enough, it looked a lot like this gentleman here who happened to write the article.
Well, I'm not saying anything there, but I'm just saying that there are pictures in the book. And
obviously, the gentleman in, I don't know if we can use the word gentleman in regards to pedophiles, sicko perhaps in that book, has a different name.
He has a different name.
It is,
and
important. It could be someone that does have a different. It just happens to look like him. I don't know. Maybe is something that's a sex offender face that's just universal. Perhaps I don't know, but
Well, I'm not making any accusations whatsoever. But what I'm saying is these people are going on, and they're actually driving the problem. So, if when they talk about so and so in upper capital names, let's just make it really easy for them. Let's save them a bunch of money. Let's unclog the courts, and let's just change the police documents, the court documents, bank documents, and let's just put them in lowercase. It's a really easy solution. If we're wrong, we're wrong. Nothing happens. If we're right, everything changes.
Exactly. So obviously, we'll come back to this article. It is important to note that nowhere in Australian courts and the jurisdictions overseas have any sovereign citizen arguments been accepted by the courts. Because they just go, oh no, this didn't happen. Case, shut it down, and then they make sure nothing's ever said. So that's again a manipulation, as opposed to they can say that's how it's happened, but that's because they just shut the doors and go, oh no, go away. We don't want to deal with it because they don't want the precedent set. And we've seen it happen. Yep. Even with my speeding fine, they just dropped it. They ran away because they didn't want precedents being set.
Yep.
Yeah. But in order to use that term sovereign citizen, they need to define that in law.
And I mean, I can't help but feel that, who are sovereign citizens? They haven't really defined that either, like it's a giant word salad where they basically point out that they have a problem and they don't really know what to do with it. But they, they're claiming here that the real problem is time and that we're wasting all their times, and it goes into his big sob story about how he's apparently, trying to administer justice. It's like, well, and I instantly, I think there's a point in somewhere in there where I started thinking, oh yeah, it's a bit like Metallica. I thought of Metallica lyrics straight away from "And Justice for All."
But I challenge.
Justice is lost, justice is raped, justice is gone, pulling his strings, justice is done, seeking no truth, winning is all, find it so grim, so real. I mean, wow. I guess Metallica are sovereign citizens as well. Yeah. Of course, the same album, Independence Limited, freedom of choice is made for you, my friend, freedom of speech. Speech is words that they will bend, freedom with their exception. I mean, this is 1988 Metallica, and it just really rings true for me even back then when I was listening to this stuff going, oh, so that's the world we live in, and here we are watching it displayed in this article, the way they manipulate, twist and turn things. It's just nuts.
Yeah, well, the first term they were putting labels on, people with labels, was conspiracy theorist after the JFK assassination. And that was a CIA planned operation. Yeah.
To make people not look at what it was going on, because let's face it, we know the CIA had a hell of a lot to do with it. Even Robert F. Kennedy says it himself. It's in the book Unspeakable. As well, where it points out these sorts of things and how, the CIA are basically a rogue agency operating, doing, on their own, doing whatever the hell they feel like. And, they've left it in a situation where the it's not parliamentarians over there, but, their government is left in a state of ignorance so that they have plausible deniability. They actually have no idea. It's fucking retarded. But anyway, what old mate's saying here, the real problem is, so a parking ticket charge on a list should take a minute or two, but it ends up taking literally hours. You know, oh my God, you guys actually have to work for a change? Fucking hell, that must be a horrible thing to actually earn the dollar that you're raping from the general
Well, that
public.
essentially says you just should plead guilty.
Yeah.
Because it
Do
doesn't
the
just
right
take
thing, plead guilty, because you're inconveniencing these poor overpriced judges.
And there's a new article out up here called DIY law. Now, so parking ticket charge on the list, which should take 1 to 2 minutes. Okay, is that a mention and a mention and a mention? And let's say you're genuinely wanting to take that charge to trial. You're not arguing anything. So the first mention, then they've got to give a brief of evidence, disclosure, whatever you want to call it, hearsay. And then they list it down. They give you another opportunity. Do you guilty, not guilty? And then they list it down for trial. That can take up to 2 years. Currently, the calendar for the courts is out of control.
Yeah.
So who's clogging up the system? What's the odd two people that
they've created their own problem.
That's right.
Yeah.
Passing all these laws.
Yep. But not only that, you know, having been in the wedding industry and owning, you know, my own businesses for 30 years, not being on a salary and not being on a like hourly rate. If a customer stays an hour later in the restaurant, you stay an hour later. That's what working is, you know. It's not it's clogging up the courtroom because I start at 9 and I finish at 4. And I have to have my break after this.
And, you know, what was it, 1 to 2 hour friggin' lunch breaks for these people? Like, I mean, by God, talk about
I
a
just
title.
had a Supreme Court matter in Brisbane, and Justice Sullivan actually aired his grievances to the court, and he actually said, first of all, one party removed themselves that gained him 3 hours, he said. And then there was another matter where a lawyer was trying to get together a DV protection order. It took them 3 goes and they still hadn't finished by the time I left. And then he turned around and he said, at the moment, I'm working through my lunch break. I'm working before this. I'm working after hours, blah, blah, blah. He actually aired it to the entire court how hard he's doing it. Right?
Poor thing. And
then
I'm guessing
said,
that, did he mention the huge salary he gets, you know, to emphasize how we should feel sorry for him?
Well, I asked him if he'd like to take the case precedents that I brought with me on his lunch break to read them. So, as you know, he said, no, I'm having lunch. I'm having lunch. And then when he came back, he's like, so where is it? Where is it? Where does it say this? You know, rah, rah. And I hadn't even handed him. So he did go away and read them. And he couldn't find what I was asking for. What I was telling him, and I couldn't find it either in the end. But anyway, the point is he actually aired that he is working overtime. He's working through his lunch break. He can't see how he's going to get through all of this. But 2 mentions beforehand, he gained 3 hours for that day. Do you know how many courtrooms there are in the Brisbane Supreme Court?
No, I can't say I've been
There's
there.
12 floors. There's 12 floors. I really only am familiar with floor 5, and on floor 5 there is at least 8 to 10 courtrooms that are sitting empty. What, no one's stepping up for the position? I don't know.
No,
Maybe
this
they
is
just
cold
have
to come out.
need the right kind of judge, perhaps.
Yeah,
A judgmental judge. We shall not judge, but let me make judgment on you.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No.
the irony is that they're using this Hovpen, and I don't want to bring too much up about it, but he was heavily involved in a sovereign citizen case. I think it was called, don't quote me on this, I think, and I'm just going to be very light on this, the Kiskonen case. And it's a very controversial matter, and he got very unwell after that, and then came back and became professor rather than a magistrate again. But really, he's the only one speaking, the 3 of them, Hobbs, McIntyre, and Half pen, but he is the forefront runner.
Mm.
Why? Because
The
what
Three
he's saying
Stooges.
doesn't make any sense. Hey, what's that?
The Three Stooges.
Speak no evil, hear no evil, see no evil. Yeah,
Exactly.
you know, yeah, and
I
and
want to
this is the
acknowledge
thing.
Andrew's comment here, though. It made me laugh. They made their bed. Now they have to lie in it.
In it.
Emphasis on the spelling of the word lie.
The
Very
lie.
good. Thank you, Andrew, for that.
Emphasise. Yeah.
Well, it's manipulation. They don't necessarily lie. It's the manipulation of one, how the Constitution is interpreted. It's a bit like the Bible, you know. How is it
I
all
can't remember
interpreted?
what it was I was watching the other day. But it was in a movie or a TV series or something, you know. And again, what constitutes a lie? You know, lies, half truths, misinformation. Like, doesn't it all fall into the same category? You know, actually, that's right. It was Lucifer. I was watching the Lucifer TV series, you know, and there they are, you know, debating the concept of what an actual lie is, because, well, Satan prides himself in this TV show as always telling the truth and not being a liar. But the constant manipulation and distortion and omissions of information so he can manipulate his point of view and get his shit across does make one question exactly what does constitute a lie when you're intentionally manipulating the situation. You may not have lied factually, but you've distorted things in such a way that you can hardly call it the truth.
Well, I have a current example of that in my current Supreme Court matter that's not being heard till May. And I was ordered to give submissions by the 3rd, and they were ordered to give submissions by the 24th. I addressed 3 jurisdictional issues, very prominent. And literally, they've come back and answered it, but they've missed 2 jurisdictional errors and completely overlooked the whole point of why I'm there in the first place. So is that a lie? Is an omission a lie? Because they haven't actually addressed why we are there.
Well, if we're here to talk about facts and, you know, information is the currency, I would suggest that, you know, there's some kind of a fraud perhaps has been committed, if we're going to look at it that way.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
But we should come back to this article because we should get through it. The main methods have developed is to obviously deal with these, you know, time wasters, to put it back into context. It is the self-explanatory shut down and move on technique, which he allegedly tried. He tried it, which obviously was unsuccessful because in his previous statement up here, he points out that it took 45 minutes. So he clearly failed in his attempt.
Very good at that.
You know, emphasizing tried. You know, he's trying to try this person, but it's very trying, I guess. You know, so how can this be more effectively curtailed? And here's the gold. You know, in my experience, there are 2 measures that may help reduce the problem. First, enforcement agencies should prosecute those profiting from spreading this misinformation. Here we are. That's the term
What,
again.
the barristers that pay $5,000 that only one side's going to win? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Such as those selling booklets and coaching on getting around the law. Anyone come to mind, Daryl?
Derek Belloc.
If I was selling dodgy shampoo, the authorities would come down hard. So it is hard to tell why these people are being given free reign. Again,
And I'm going to quote
the word reign.
Something here. Here's the reason they have instructions on a shampoo bottle.
Exactly. You know, so where are the instructions on the court?
And what charge would they give someone?
Say again, sorry?
What would they be charging someone? We need to prosecute these people. Okay, what are you going to prosecute them with? What charge?
Well, again, you know, where's the example of misinformation? You know, It's a baseless claim, but I do like the fact that he's used the word free reign while discussing
I love
sovereign
the
citizen.
rehabilitation program.
Isn't that an interesting fucking twisted term? I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a little bit creative here and seeing the word reign as in a kingly term to reign over others, you know, and these people have been given free reign. Well done, mate. Well done. I wonder if it's a Freudian slip or if he actually intended to do this.
Yeah.
The next line is the best. It's the best because
Second,
I wrote.
There could be a trial of rehabilitation program diverting from the courts. So there you go. If you've exercised free will, we're going to have to re-educate you.
I wrote this letter. Go on, Daryl.
Isn't that Communist 101?
Fucking oath.
That's
it's straight at Orwellian to the fuckhouse.
Oh, mate. There it is.
I wrote
We have them for drug addiction, anger management, and traffic offences. Why not sovereign citizens? Oh my lord!
I wrote.
It's fucking. That is a level of retard that is beyond comprehension.
Well, they need to be sent to China or Russia where they'd be more comfortable.
Yeah, quite possibly. You know, these people are obviously not comfortable in a free society, so they need their, you know, communist reign, which is interesting because every time I read articles from the conversation, I feel there's a very large communist presence in amongst the alleged journalism that is displayed in this retarded
propaganda.
website.
Propaganda.
Yeah. Propaganda would definitely be a good word.
It's funny when I had a 6 kilometre speeding ticket and I was going over to Bali and it conflicted with me fighting it. So I wrote a letter simply about this. You know, I'm so sorry in my 0.46 of a second while I was looking out the window, forward, sideways, looking at the traffic signs, looking at this, looking at that. I have absolutely erred in my ways. I definitely see that I need rehabilitation. I need to take a more holistic approach, and I suggest to the government that we should build a rehab centre or an AA for drivers anonymous that definitely make mistakes in under 1 minute. Because they've erred in their ways. They're definitely, and I apologise sincerely that I'm such a bad person, and potentially we could bring in a new system. But that brings me to, as well, recording in court. You know, over the telephone, why can't you record in court? I've had a recent thing that I have to write an undertaking that I won't record a telephone call. Like, anyone can dial into a chorus call at the court and record it.
Yeah.
But then the biggest thing that astounds me is if I want to get a record of what I said in my own case, I have to go to a transcript that says on the bottom can be altered by a third party and then pay them to get what I said because I'm not allowed to record it myself because that's unlawful.
Yep.
In a public court.
But as we were discussing yesterday, it's like, well, there's an economic motivation in here. You know, we need to protect this agency that is getting paid God knows how much money to transcribe things when all we have to do is just record it and display it. So,
but I think it's actually electronically transcribed as well from what it's becoming verbatimly clear. There's not someone sitting down going, oh, yep. Imagine how many transcripts a day would have to come out. And where do they operate?
Prior to technology, obviously somebody was, doing that, you know, so.
Yeah.
But,
so,
you know, again, this you see the money in all this, you know, you can see there's money there. But the fact that obviously, you know, here we are talking again about facts and, you know, information is the currency here, but they're allowed to alter it when it suits them.
It's bizarre.
Again, the word fraud comes to mind.
And then you could be breaking the law if you record it. I understand if you're recording someone else, that you're not in the conversation. But if you can record the police when you're in a matter, how can you not record? I'm not going to do it again, right? Because basically I have to pay $2,000 every time I fly to the court. because they've seen me as such a bad person for recording my own situation. And the irony was in that matter, I was told I wasn't allowed to raise jurisdiction at my appeal. And then when I went to my judicial review, they said, you should have raised jurisdiction. So how do I prove that if I didn't record it?
Yeah.
Is there a transcript at call over? I don't know. I'm not purposely being belligerent. It also takes you between 7 days and 14 days. In one case, it took me 7.5 weeks to get a transcript. You only have 28 days for an appeal, but it took 7.5 weeks to get the transcript that I needed for that appeal. So when I went to the appeal, I didn't have that transcript.
Rigged is the word I was going for, but anyway.
When I got the transcript, it had big grey letters across it that says restricted, that I'm not allowed to show anyone. So I've now paid for it.
Well, again, it's a public system. It's a public court, and the faith in the system is based on everybody, having that faith. Well, how are we supposed to have faith when there's clearly manipulation going on? Again, why can't we discuss these things? If the law is so clean and so clear cut and everything's above board, what are they hiding? It's the same principle as apparently we should be okay with CCTV and drones fucking using God knows what technology to peer through the walls of your house and all that and invade your privacy based on the fact that, hey, you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to worry about. Well, I put the same thing towards the system in this particular instance. What do you have to hide? What are you so afraid of? This is a public system. It's not like, we're trying to peer into your bedroom like these dirty bastards with a fucking drone and helicopters and doing God knows fucking what with it.
Under reasonable suspicion, mind you. And we can enter the house with a warrant under reasonable suspicion. But we can't be reasonably suspicious that things have gone missing out of the transcript.
It's a one-way door.
That proceeding to stop that proceeding. Yeah. I've got something in a book upstairs, so I'm going to just go up and grab it so I can read verbatimly out of the Butterworth's Criminal Code book
No worries. You do that, and we'll get these final lines in from this wonderfully piece, this artwork, I would call it, because I don't know if you can consider it journalism. But, the final line here, after we've proposed re-education for people who don't think the right way, the need for action is urgent. The evidence is that this movement is growing, diverting courts from their core business, which is administering justice for all. And again, I would like to return back to Metallica and Justice for All. Wonderful album. Lyrically, one of my favorites. Probably not the best recorded. But anyway, halls of justice painted green, money talking. Power wolves beset your door, hear them stalking. Opening lines really say it all, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? Mate, there it is. Yeah.
This obviously, we have to blame Metallica for generations of conspiracy-minded people pointing out that justice is lost, justice is raped, justice is gone. Pulling your strings, justice is done. Seeking no truth, winning is all. Find it so grim, so true, so real. By all means, go and have a listen if you can bear to listen to Metallica, and in what I would consider one of the worst recordings, but wonderful musical construction, riff work, and lyrics. It's just a shame it was recorded so badly, but that's my opinion. I've ruined a lot of people's perception of this. So if you really like And Justice for All and you don't want to know, stick your fingers in your ears right now. But where's the bass? Hence the fact that they re-released it and Justice for Bass, because they fucked it up really bad in the original release of this. So anyway,
it seems that in the public light, when you're in the public light, like the Hollywood actors and the rock and rollers, they get to see what's really happening, and we only have to look at Mel Gibson and what he's been trying to show people. These people in rock and roll, they try and tell us through their music what's really going on. And it's unfortunate that, you know, the vast majority of the population of this planet are sheep.
Yeah.
We just do not get it sometimes. Some of us do, of course.
Yeah. You know, that's the power of heavy metal. As far as I've always found that heavy metal is one of the best for pointing out these kinds of things. You know, Lady Justice has been raped. Truth assassin. Rolls of red tape seal your lips. Now you're done in. Their money tips her scales again. Make your deal. Just what is truth? I cannot tell. Cannot feel. I mean, it just sums up everything that we've been speaking about so well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Metallica.
So I found
Yeah.
a book. So it is a Butterworth's, back to France, sorry, Butterworth's criminal procedure book. Being the nerd that reads anything. By the way, I finished your book, Mark. I'll fill you in later.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So it actually says here, the disparity between law and the practice in this area has been a matter of concern over many years. The police force operates efficiently only to the extent that it inspires public respect and confidence and thereby receives the support of the community in the solution of crimes. If the law enforcement officers, so we can relate this to the courts, the politicians as well, officers are generally perceived to be acting illegally, that respect and confidence will be quickly eroded. For this reason, it has been suggested that what police do and what they are lawfully entitled to do should be reconciled. Blah, 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 blah. So,
I wholeheartedly agree. Wholeheartedly. You know, at the end of the day, I remember sitting down with a police officer a long time ago, you know, at one of our gigs, actually. He was a bit of a fan of the old Bogan Nation, top bloke, obviously, you know, and asked him quite a lot of questions, you know, about things, you know. And one of the things he stated whilst we were talking about, you know, traffic offences, which is obviously one of the biggest grievances of the general public, you know, he basically stated, look, I'm a police officer. I'm a detective. I arrest real criminals. I don't go around handing out fines to little old ladies to try and feed the government. You know? And then he went on to state that the toggies was the term he used. You know, traffic. You know, authority. Traffic mob, were the natural enemy of the detective because they are destroying that public faith. And one of the things that they rely on as a detective to catch real criminals doing real fucking crimes, not this bullshit that they keep finding people for, you know, is that they need that public to come forward with tips and information. Nobody wants to talk to coppers anymore because we're just waiting to cop a fine for having said the wrong fucking thing.
SSHUUTTUUUPP.
And again, we can see crime is going through the fucking roof. People, they're getting away with it left, right, and center because the public have lost faith in the system.
Yep.
So it's verbatimly, this is what we were talking about, that article, bringing it back on topic. What is the cause? What happened for people to start asking questions or even looking that their name is in lowercase on their rates, uppercase on their bank loan, lowercase on their offer of agreement for their mortgage, and then in uppercase later, you know, and these things actually make sense to some people, whether they're right or wrong. But, you know, I'm not saying, you know, we talked about this yesterday, Mark, in a private conversation. You know, your car's registered to the state, so then who owns the car? Then the insurance companies, which we all know is the underwriter for everything, the insurance. And it's only when you start digging and swimming lower that you realize what's going on here. And people, whether they're right or wrong, their freedom of political communication, as Daryl talked about earlier, there is no such thing as a dumb question. Isn't that what we were always taught?
Well, I watched South Park, and I believe it was said in South Park, there's no such thing as a stupid question, just stupid people.
Yeah, but you don't learn unless you ask questions, and I'm a classic individual that has absolutely zero filter, even more so when I drink. I'll just say it as it is, and it's very offensive because people don't like it, right?
Yeah, people are afraid of the truth.
They are afraid of the truth, and
which demonstrates we
system-
live in a fictional reality. I'd just like to demonstrate to point people in that wonderful Slayer song, which I thought is another wonderful example of sovereign citizen behavior in heavy metal in the 90s. But yeah, fictional reality, great song. You probably won't, if you're not a metalhead, you won't appreciate the music, but you can just look up the lyrics.
So, Daryl, like we talk about they're labeling the sovereign citizens. You might want to put a take on this. I struggle with something all the time, and none of us really have the answer, or we're trying to build something at the moment. But who are we as let's call the public what the public think they are, right? Allowing our politicians to, let's be fair, by the time they get their tax rebates, their fuel's paid, their uniforms are paid, they stay in their own Airbnb, blah, 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 blah. They're on about $500,000 a year. They do a 4-year term. They get this extra pension. Are we as society that stupid that the pension went up 25 cents recently to help the pensioners with their, increasing rates? The wholesale price of energy is halved, yet it's gone up 20%. And these people are taking more and more and more, and we just go, oh, here you go, we're nearly up to 40% of our wages. Just keep taking it because you don't have an award rate of pay. We don't know even whether you clock on or clock out like Fred Flintstone. Do you work a 35-hour week? Do you work a 48-hour week? Do you just turn up to Parliament 11 times a year or 12 times a year to make a decision, do a couple of little fatamina, things, whatever? I'm not going to go there. I'm going to go off that topic, but make a few Deb Frecklington, victims come first in DV. We are now doing up courts throughout Queensland with the Crucifoli government. We now have a room that you do not have to face your perpetrator. I don't know what that's got to do with the entire registry office being changed, new computer systems. It's happening in every court in Queensland at the moment, but victims come first.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah,
so we can see the bullshit that's being fed to us. We can see, those that can see between the lines. How do they get us to such a dumb state that sweat equity gives them nearly 40% of, if not by the time you take excise tax and the velocity of exchange of products, all our money?
I think it comes to a much higher rate than that because, let's go off what Malcolm Roberts said. And I know he's not the sharpest tool in the shed, but, he pointed out that for a 9-to-5 worker, Monday to Friday, you lob up on Monday morning at 9 o'clock all the way till about 10 or 11 o'clock, I think it was, on Thursday. It's fucking tax.
Yep.
From, from your 10 to 11 o'clock to Friday knockoff, that's what you get to keep. So I think we're probably looking at more in the vicinity of 75% of everything that you do is being stolen from you.
The award wage.
And then what you get to keep, you got to hand over again. So, yeah.
I was talking to a union rep yesterday who's trying to put something forward in a place around town at the moment, and asking him to step forward because there's a new enterprise agreement coming through. And I might change the story slightly so it's not obvious, but basically if you were to do an enterprise agreement, if you go to work and you're working the 5-day week or 6.5 days, if you're doing overtime, then you're getting double tax on the overtime. If you're getting $1,500, say the average, I'm not going to go into the exact, say your take home is $1,200, right?
Yeah.
Then you've got to work out what is your rent as an individual, not a family, not anything. What's your rent? Well, the average rent in this part of town's around $450, at the lowest $650, probably the average. So let's call it $500, $550. Let's call it $500. You are then left with $700. That everything you pay has tax on it. What's a shopping bill? Shopping for somebody that's conservative, you're looking at $250, $300 a week to conservatively cook for yourself. That's without takeaways or any right? So you take that out. We're looking at $12 for a block of probably fake cheese at the moment. We're looking at, $4.50 for a thing of Tic Tacs, or it's just got out of control. So the average wage does not meet livability.
No, it certainly doesn't anymore.
And it has to be by design.
Yeah. Oh, obviously it is.
They've inflated it so hard to crash the market because they have to.
Yeah. Yeah. The destruction of our society, the destruction of our way of life, the destruction of our culture. It's all intentional. And as that article points out, it's not an isolated phenomenon here to Australia. And many other articles and many other points of view have pointed this out. It is a coordinated assault on Western society.
Yeah. So what do we do? I mean, we just can keep doing what we're doing to the best of our ability and hope that more and more people are held accountable. And I guess today, for me, it was that article by a gentleman. It's personally affected me, what he has done, right?
Yeah.
And who's he? He's one. Oh, there's 16,000 lawyers, solicitors and barristers in Queensland. I don't know how many there are in New South Wales, and there'll be plenty more in Victoria, right? So who's he? What's his one point of view? I'm not going to go, oh, yes, David Helpin, let me train. He puts me off. Like, I thought about studying law there for a bit. He puts me off because I know that he actually is a lecturer and someone that I know at university. Yeah. He would put me off ever wanting to learn it, because if that's the mentality, I'd probably be booted out anyway.
Kind of why I never really gelled with school, because so much of what you see is just like, I can see this as blatant bullshit. When your teacher stands in front of the class as a history teacher and says, nobody knows why Hitler hated the Jews. And you're like, are you for fucking real? How stupid are you? I'm a fucking year 8 student. I can tell you're lying. Either that or you actually, and then the sad part is these people actually, in a lot of cases, believe their own bullshit, which is even worse. Like, I know Frag Pinball's been going nuts here with all this stuff, but yet we're all arguing about an illusion. Of course we are, but the problem is, the guy with the imaginary friend is insisting that his imaginary friend is fucking real, just like these people with imaginary genders and all this other shit. Like the fantasy these people are actually creating. And if you really want to get into the metaphysical construct of it all, science is actually proving that thought, what we think, actually manifests. So by distorting everyone's point of view and having the majority of people believe a fantasy, you actually manifest that fantasy as reality.
Yep. Welcome to Earth.
Yeah. Any wonder the aliens don't want to fucking land. They might catch stupid.
Yeah. It's a psyop, a massive psyop. But here we are. I mean, they're even doing a Royal Commission now into the anti-Semitic, anti-Semitism.
What does that mean to you, Dad? What does it mean?
Well,
I can tell you up to 6 months ago, I had never heard it other than when in the multiple books that I've read, right? Yeah, and I still don't.
It's like anti-vaxxer.
Yeah.
Can I just, sorry, what I meant to say in the last bit was, who is creating the violence? So that article, I've got to finish that last bit. They're creating the violence. The politicians, by spending the money, by taxing, by inflation, by all of these things, are creating the people to stand up and say, we've had enough. So, Mr. Hoffman, if you are listening, come on this show, have the conversation. We invite you to have the conversation. These 3 people here, we might talk about different beliefs and what have you, but we are genuinely want to talk about the justice system, the legislation, the constitution. You're a professor at a university. Stand up to the plate and talk to everybody. And let's call Four Corners in to watch it as well, and let's see whether they will give a verbatim truth of what is actually happening. Guarantee it's not going to happen. But
of course not.
I
They don't have. They don't have the courage. And they don't have the strength of truth.
Sebastian called my name, Falco. so all I can say is the offer is there, and it's on record.
Yep.
Mr. Halfpen, Mr. McIntyre, and Mr. Hobbs, you've received multiple text messages, recordings from me. You've received a 10-page email. You haven't even had the guts to answer me, yet you're continuing to write articles. February 2026. This was the 16th of September 2025 that the article went out, or the complaint went in. So I'm off that topic, rant done. But Mr. Sudi, I don't watch him. His best friend, Halfpen, come on the show and have the chat. Bring the confidence back to the people. Let us believe in the judicial system. Let's believe in the police force, even though they only do 8 months training. Let's believe in and help change it for the better of the people, rather than pointing the finger and naming people as mad, bad, and dangerous.
Sovereign citizens.
The only thing I'm mad about
anti-that.
I'm mad about the false allegations. I'm bad because I sit up all night and challenge these people, and I'm dangerous because I'm not going to stop until the truth comes out. And I think that sums us all up. So if they want to call it that, call it that. But we're not stopping.
Yeah,
so come on, Mr. Hoffman. David, come on the show. All right, let's go on the next topic.
More than happy to have them on and explain their point of views and justify this horrific excuse for journalism. And let's have a look at what is justice for all exactly. What is justice for all? Because I'm not seeing it. Yeah.
That's right.
Sorry, I got you off topic, Mark.
No, you're all right. That's all good. It's all good. Daryl, anything to add, my friend? We're going to wrap this up. We're getting to 2 hours now, and that's the hourglass because I've run out of beer in the fridge.
Okay. Yeah, well, we've got this anti-Semitism Royal Commission, and who's it headed by? Who's the commissioner?
I'm sure he's of some sort of Jewish descent, no doubt.
Bang on. It's Justice Bell, ex-High Court Justice.
There we go.
Yeah, and she just happens
defender
to be
of the faith might be an accurate term. And instantly, as soon as those words fall out, I see an orangutan. In my views, somewhere about 2,000 years into the future, perhaps. Charlton Heston's there as well.
King Kong.
Anybody pick that movie?
Planet of the Apes. Yeah. But yeah, it's insane. So we're essentially asking indirectly to that Royal Commission because it's supposed to wind up at the end of the year. And we're going to ask, can you please look into why around the world that particular race of people are hated?
I asked this question the other day.
Well, according to my history teacher, nobody knows.
No one knows. How convenient.
It's a mystery.
I was
kicked out of every fucking country, even the one that Yahweh gave to them. Like, you got to wonder what kind of a God Yahweh was to go and free a bunch of slaves, insist that they have to worship him, and then install them in somebody else's land, but God gave it to you. What the
But why was Hitler trying to build a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, I can't remember what they're called now, it's Sunday afternoon, but
the Aryan race.
The Aryan race, but he's got dark hair and dark. There's just
doesn't make any sense, does it?
I've just finished this book. It's a brilliant book and it's a trilogy. Let me just find it, and it's about World War II. It's got a little bit of a story behind it. Library. It's called no, the Broken Girl. Hang on, library. That was the Giuffre. hang on, all books. Hang on, because I read too many books. It was called The Bronze Horseman, and it was about Prussia, Russia, the Soviet Soviet Union, USSR, and how it all went through the war, and Finland and everything like that, and how they were on rations and whatever. And I verbatimly can say, I remember my dad telling me about this because he was originally in Poland that came across the border, hopped on cattle carts, and it's literally in this book. So
Wow.
Are we going back there now?
Feels
Oh,
Are we
yeah,
going
we
to
moved away from
50 grams of rations a day with the new siren on the 27th of July? That, can you imagine how many accidents that's going to cause?
That's what they
Can
want.
imagine. Mm.
More work for the police and ambulance.
I'm going to go to the
Yeah.
courthouse there and see if it all comes on, because you're supposed to have your phone on silent. I just there and went, oh, emergency, we have to go. Sorry.
Yep, that's it.
Everyone
Game over.
out. Quick, it's emergency. So if it's an emergency alarm and it's a fake, you still have to do the drill, don't you? Isn't there a drill when you get a fire alarm in a supermarket or a school? There's a drill that goes behind an alarm. So does that mean that every building now has to be evacuated through? Thank you. Getting another drink. Evacuated through their drill process? Because if it's a test, does every school get evacuated? Does every courthouse get evacuated? Like, think about it.
Well, that's
I'm
what we were
guessing
trained to do in school, and amazingly, when I moved on to work in an office again, we did the same fucking retarded thing. Although there was what was it? We had I was working for a superannuation company, AMP at the time, which I called Arseholes Manipulating People. It actually inspired me to write the song Arseholes Manipulating People, which is I put in my
we
former
need to
band
hear you
Convicted
sing
Souls.
one day, Mark.
Sorry.
We need to hear you sing one day.
Well, it's all on the internet. You can find it. Just type in Bogan Nation. You'll find. I'll send you some.
Okay.
Some people might argue it's not singing. Vocalizing is a kind way of putting it.
All right.
But where was I? Oh yeah, and because there was the Health and Human Services underneath, like nearly at least once a week there was a bomb threat. And we all had to clear out the fucking building, and it was like being in fucking high school. I went from high school to Workland, and it was exactly the same thing. Constantly doing these fucking drills and running out, and no bomb ever fucking went off, but there was constant threats going. So it was like doing fucking fire alarm drills over and over again.
But what are they going to use? So, like the description, if you look up what the $120 million that they spent and the ongoing $10 million a year to run the bloody alarm, right? So it's for fire, cyclone, tsunami, bushfires. Which analogy are they actually going to test, or are they just testing that the alarm works for 10 seconds? Or they're actually going to test, okay, there's a fire in your area, do the following. There's a cyclone coming, do you have your cyclone kit? There's a tsunami coming, let's put the kids out the front lawn because the sea's right next to it, which is what happened here. What that they're saying you're going to get an alarm, don't worry about it. What's the point? $120 million.
Well,
Somebody's getting paid, and somebody got that job and made a lot of money out of it, and amazingly, that seems to be what a lot of these fucking projects seem to be. Jobs for mates.
Yep.
But everyone in Australia is going to get this text. All that says to me, the sirens, Big Brother, World War II, something's about to happen. You need to be notified. I can see it in my head. But let's take it on what they're saying it is. To the average that can't see. They're going to be sitting at the lights.
Like that alarm system. During COVID-19 84, they abused that fucking alarm system to the point where everybody started blocking it. They had to put out a public fucking note. Can you please stop blocking the emergency services shit? It's like, well, why don't you actually tell me about a real emergency and we might stop blocking it? Like, fuck
But
me.
that's my point. So it's no different to that article. You give fake something, how are people going to respond? You put out a fake drill that lasts for 10 seconds and it's just a test.
Yeah.
The next time it comes on, what are people going to say? Oh, it's just another test.
Well, wasn't there a book about this kind of shit? There's something about a little boy and wolves. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, little boy and wolves. Yeah.
Because I know that I had a shop in a supermarket and we have the same drills all the time, Mark. And I just go, oh, just bloody hell, just wait until it's really whatever, because then you've got to shut the shop, you've got to close this, do this. I just go, yeah, let's wait. We only ever in 11 years had one, and it was real. It was a mini earthquake. And nothing happened. But yeah, where did we evacuate? In the worst possible place that you could evacuate to. I didn't, but I watched people standing right there. And when there was a tsunami warning here, we have a school called Cannavale State School, and literally there's a little road, a bit of parkland, and a tidal surge which comes into a creek. Where did they line the children up? On the front lawn.
Yep.
Like
closer to the disaster than they were before.
Way closer. Like they may as well have stood in the middle of it.
Yep. It's astounding.
So we all know there has to be. We don't know exactly what it is. We can assume or presume what it is, but there's an ulterior motive behind it.
Yep. Let's destroy our trust in government.
Wow, they're certainly doing a fucking good job. I mean, I can't help but wonder if that's what the fucking purpose of all this shit was, really, is to just destroy everybody's faith and trust, because that's what they're achieving.
Well,
they're doing a bloody good job of it.
The last 100 years, what have they done? They're starting all these wars, and I mean, just today, the Orange Man started obeying Israel and shooting at Iran.
Oh, he had to fund his presidency somehow.
Well, yeah, and how can this other nation dictate to the United States? I think Israel's got
I
way
don't
too
get
much.
into all of that, but have a look, because I had a grandmother who was the first one to drive a car in Australia, and she loved Days of Our Lives, and she'd sit there and go, look at Brooke. Brooke's not that pretty. Look at the mirror behind her. Look at this. Look at the shading. Look at this. So I always look in the background of stuff. It's just a thing that drives anyone crazy when they watch a movie with me, because I'm like,
I do the same thing.
So
I had to learn to shut my mouth.
Yeah, I don't get invited to the footy, put it that way. Right. So when he made that announcement, the orange guy made the announcement to the world, whatever press conference, he has a USA grey cap. At first I thought it was AI, and I've taken photos of it. He's actually got big black eyes underneath it, like he's been punched the shit up. He's got big eyes. And it's not the cap. I've zoomed in. It's not the cap. It's not a reflection. And if you're about to go to war on someone, why would you wear a baseball cap? You wouldn't. He's never showed that before other than in a campaign. So there's more shit going down that we don't know. Yeah. But what's his name? Kennedy made a great speech today, and I did share it on my page.
Look.
If I don't even get it, and I read a lot, and I research a lot, and if I don't get it, I would say 50% of my friends don't get it. I really don't get the anti-Semitism that Israel, other than following the money.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the big ones, the money trail. I mean, I've asked AI, so why historically have, people of Jewish descent been, moved on and, kicked out of just about every fucking country, and inspired things such as the Spanish Inquisition. For people go to extraordinary lengths to deal with these people. I mean, what's the motivation? And what AI came back with was, because they weren't allowed to have other jobs, and, there were usury laws, preventing, Christian and Catholic nations from the money lending industry. The Jews moved into it, I'm like, okay, so there's a lot of cases then against, Jewish money lending / usury in the people. Oh yeah, there's lots of them. Oh, fuck. Well, okay, thanks
Well, I was
AI.
watching
In
another.
their attempt to defend them, they gave me the answer I needed. It's like, yeah, they've been fucking with money for so bloody long. And again, you look at the book whose name I always fucking forget the name of, inconvenient history or something.
Inconvenient truth.
Yeah, no, that's not it. It's something to do with history. I know I can see the book, but I can't see the words. Pictures work, but words don't for some reason. But anyway, in that book, it goes into the genetic structure and all that, and why did Jews develop such amazing money lending fucking abilities as a cognitive genetic trait that it puts in there. It was quite amusing in a sense, but all possibly because it's all they work on.
What do you think the highest population?
And have a look at it. What the Rothschilds, 48 out of 50 of the world banks are run by that family. Again, we're playing Monopoly, but you're not allowed to buy anything. You're not allowed to own anything. You're not given a rule book, and as soon as you figure out the rules, they change them. Like,
oh yeah, there it is.
I was watching a lady the other day that's gone right into the Taliban. She's gone right into studying her version, but studying more than I could possibly do in that realm because it's so complicated because of the different languages involved. And she said that the Jewish, she said, not me, make it very clear, the hate people that might be watching this, I didn't say it, that she said that being Jewish is a complete contradiction to being Christian. Now, I'm neither or, right? So she's saying it's complete. So that might be the answer. Christians didn't like the Jews because of this. Then what was Hitler? Was he Christian? I don't think he was.
Don't know about it.
You couldn't be.
He sided with Italy, so that perhaps there's a Catholic scenario connection there. Catholic,
There is. There's a Catholic connection.
Yeah, there is.
He was taking advice.
Yeah.
He was taking advice from the Roman Catholic Church or the Holy See. So he was fighting one devil off, but he was listening to another devil.
Yeah.
So he
the archdiocese in Queensland have been ordered to sell a whole bunch. There's Townsville Church, Proserpine Bowen, sell a whole heap of their churches to pay the sexually abused victims. It's all in the paper. Archdiocese. How much they receive federally? $1.5 billion federally, and each state that I can see, and this is a rounded figure, gets about $30 million. The archdiocese to run Catholics.
What's the common theme with all these groups? They all
I don't know.
Agreed.
It's in the Talmud for the Jewish group to sexually abuse young babies. The Catholic Church, what are they guilty for? That renowned for since the 1970s, and there's even documents or records of 1,000 years ago. They were doing the same thing. The Catholic Church. There's one theme, and there's this one God that they were worshipping, and that when you bring yourself back to the day that Moses came down from Mount Sinai and saw them worshipping this bull who they were sacrificing their children to.
Yeah.
Thing called Baal. And this is the common theme. So this is what we're up against. These people are satanic, and they're trying to make out that they're our best friend. No. This is a problem that we have, and that we've got to confront. It's front and center.
And it's been going on for thousands of years. That's the thing, you know.
Thousands of years. Doesn't matter.
This is something that just propped up the last couple of years, like for thousands and thousands of years, you know. And again, when you look at, Mauro Biglino, if I've said that probably wrong, but, you know, work of pulling apart the Bible and going, well, what actually has been said here? Let's translate it properly. You start to see that there were many gods. You know, there's no concept of monotheism in the original Old Testament. You know, it's a case of gods fending for their own fucking, you know, personal power, I guess. You know, you must worship me, not that god, not this god. You know, and it's like a system of government. You know, when you really look at it, you go, hang on, these people are trying to get you to believe in them and convince you that they are the one and only fucking choice to salvation. Well, the same thing happens every time we got to go for an election, doesn't it?
Yep.
These
Well,
people
they
are trying to
segregated religion completely. Why they did that? Because they all were non-for-profit organisations or sects or whatever, and not sects. So you had Church of England, Protestant. You know, you had all these different people because that's how the church made money. Right, because they became that, the people gave the donations. But off that topic, what's the solution? Right, like I'm a bit of a solution person, and I'll keep going until I try and find something that works. What would be the solution to the justice system or politics at the moment? Like just from an average individual that runs a small business, how would you change that? Well, you put them on the award wage, but you'd put them on the same as everyone else. You'd ask how many hours a week they were working, whether they deserve the money. You take them out of their, what I perceive as a PMA, right? Private Members Association. Whatever they say they're accountable for, take out their right to the whole school accusing bullshit that they do in Parliament. Haven't seen Jackie Lambie lately. She seems to have disappeared, right? But that saying, well, you're this. Like, if a household operated like that, that would be domestic violence. Yeah. If the way judges or magistrates speak to said innocent people until proven guilty, that would be abuse.
But if you put a laugh track to it, you can make it an episode of Seinfeld.
All the days of our lives.
Yeah.
Or
a lot of those, you know, what do they call them? Sitcoms, situation comedies. You know, like you take away that laugh track and you go, hang on, these people have got some serious fucking mental issues.
Yes, Minister.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother kettle of fish, really. It's not the American sitcom. That's Well, that just points out exactly how the system fucking works and how retarded it is. You know.
Yeah.
Again, how with such a plethora of examples of how fucked the world is, why do we keep going along with it? That's the weird thing.
Well, we are.
We're patient.
We're very patient. I'm not, because I
keep waiting for that second coming.
So that's the
2,000 years. It's all right. I'm gonna wait another week. She'll be right.
Yeah, she'll be right.
They're going to take away, like, what's her name? Fatimina. I don't even like speaking her name.
We know which one we're talking about.
She has an investment property, from what I read, that she rents to herself for $350 a night, and she's making $100,000 a year by renting her investment property for her to stay in.
They all do it.
Got
Nick Demetto, the former KAP, now the mayor of Townsville, admitted to me in my own backyard, and I have a witness that you know, he rents his own car back to himself, and apparently it's legal.
Yeah.
And it is legal, and I have no issue with it, as long as they were earning that money through private enterprise. They're not. They're earning the money in their salary through us, right? So if you're an entrepreneur, you're a plumber, you're a restaurateur, whatever, you go out, you earn your money, and you set it up that way, no problem. You've earned that money through sweat equity.
Yeah.
And then the accountability. Where's the little check-in like Fred Flintstone? I started work at 8 o'clock this morning and I worked at 12 o'clock last, but legitimate hours that they can prove, because I guarantee they're not.
Yeah.
They're as addicted as what we are to solving the problem. We do this for nothing, right? They would charge.
They're only supposed to receive an allowance under the Constitution.
Wow, it's
Really?
far more than a bloody allowance, that's for sure.
Yeah, only the Chief
payments.
Justice of the High Court and the Governor General, and they're the ones who would have a designated wage.
Yeah,
but,
Section 44.
Yeah, well, 44 is disqualification, but
No, it was a comment someone just made. Yeah.
It's essentially the parliamentarians, the members of Parliament, only receive an allowance for when they're actually sitting in Parliament.
But don't they get remuneration?
Yeah, they get remuneration, but they've sort of flipped this whole thing around, and that brings me back to what I was saying earlier about consolidated revenue. I think what's actually taken place, and we now have the evidence of this, is that the likes of BlackRock and the like are actually their consolidated revenue, and they're actually paying their representatives sitting in their parliaments.
It's not ours.
And they're paying them a wage according to being a CEO of a business, and that's the excuse they use to the rest of us. That why would they be bothered sitting as a member of Parliament if they can go out in the private sector and earn good money? And it's not about that. It's about representation.
That's right.
And if that's really the case, then if we're just talking about money, what happened to our chief Commonwealth Bank, our government-backed bank?
Well, that was sold off to private enterprise. It's now.
Well, it's the Reserve Bank, which, hello, is run by. Yep.
Da-da,
you guessed it.
Those people who are crying that oh my God, they don't like us. I wonder why. Billions and billions of dollars of profit, and you can't fucking put up some form of security to protect my credit card. Thank you.
Why are these people predominantly in these positions? And now they're calling for, we want complete protection.
Because I am Anthony Albanese, and I could be stuck on an island, and I would need to call my MPs to certify for me, because I had a bad childhood, and I had a really bad childhood. My mum lived at a commission home, and she never taught me how to make fire. So I need an MP and I need a senator.
Keep him right or wrong either.
By the way, I went to Scouts and I actually do know how to light a fire, but I couldn't be bothered because it's beneath me.
It's sad, isn't it, this world? But we got to get on top of them. And they are now standing out like a sore thumb. So the rest of the world's kicking them out.
Yeah.
And they're making themselves very obvious, causing us, we the people, to ask the question, why have you been so hated around the world for so long?
Yeah. Wow.
And that's all we've got to really
just have to look at what's happening to us.
Yep.
Everybody can see it.
My father died in 2008, so some time back now, but he grew up in Poland, which then became Prussia, as I understand it, and I'm still trying to research the history on it. And the Nazis would come around to their house, and they were Christian. Not that that was really something I was raised with, but it was definitely evident as my father had cancer and he was dying. He really reverted back to that. But my grandmother was raped by the Nazi armies in the cornfields, and they had a little bunker underneath the house where, when the siren went off, 27th July 2026, went off, they would put the 5 children in the bunker. It was already prepped with food, and they were told they were not allowed to come out until they were taken out, no matter what. And at one stage, they stayed in there for 5 days, ended up in their own feces, all that sort of stuff, right? Even though it was prepped. So this is verbatim, like my father taught me this. They walked in and then they said, you have half an hour to collect what you have in your hands to get on the cattle cart, which is explained in that book that I was just, sorry, people say it's a train to Auschwitz. No, it was a cattle cart. And to get on that cattle cart, you had to have a TB injection, because without the TB injection, you didn't get your papers. Hello, does that sound familiar? Right?
Yeah.
And the dysentery, which is again in this book, the dysentery and the sickness of the people, they just booted them off the cattle cart because it was too disgusting for the guards. And luckily for my father and my family, his family, they were booted off and they started a new life in West Germany. But they were actually on the way to somewhere that was probably not very nice. And they were not Jewish. They were Polish, which then became Prussia, which is now Russia, or West Germany, whichever way you want to. I'm still trying to learn about it. But it's true. And it's in our lifetime. Like, my dad could still be alive. He's not, but he could be. There are 90, 80-year-old people and 90-year-old people alive. It happened in their lifetime. Why are we not listening to them?
Because we've been taught not to. It's the other part of the socialist regime, isn't it? You know, don't listen to your elders. They don't know better. We, the government, know better. Listen to the state.
Now it's AI.
Yeah. That's it. Have faith in the machine. It's all right. Terminator wasn't a problem, you know. Well, I've seen Hollywood's cracking the sads, you know, over the AI scenario.
It's actually called the fatherboard.
Fatherboard.
Yeah,
not the motherboard.
Not the motherboard. The fatherboard. That's what this system is that they're going to bring in over us. It's not the Terminator Skynet. It's called Godfather. It's called the fatherboard.
It's what's it called?
I just watched a remake of the old He-Man cartoons, and it was a merger of magic and technology was the ultimate enemy, and it was called Motherboard.
Yeah. Now we have the fatherboard.
Well, I'm going to stay watching Pollyanna over and over and over and over and over and over again. As a child, that's what I watched, Pollyanna. These guys are the ones committing violence. What's this? Hollywood AI, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, so Hollywood apparently is getting its knickers in a knot because, you know, there's well, that'll load eventually, you know, an AI actor, you know, and they go, oh, well, it's not going to have the same effect, you know, as real actors. So obviously all the actors who have been, you know, defending the system are suddenly starting to realize that they're becoming obsolete and they won't happen. They're no longer relevant. Yeah, where they've even grabbed an AI fight between Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise here, you know, and, you know, had a bit of fun with it. And yeah, Hollywood's now starting to realize that, hang on, we're not the be all and end all anymore. What? Huh?
Nobody.
Yeah, right. Everything's a possible threat, you know. Yep. And with the, you know, the advent of AI, you can pretty much do anything you want. It's no longer under control unless AI itself is under control. And obviously, Klaus Schwab himself has openly stated, whoever controls AI controls the world.
Well, that's Larry Ellison.
Sorry,
that's a gentleman by the name of Larry Ellison. Ellison.
Someone has to hold the patent to AI.
Yeah, well, he grabbed what's so we have to go back to 1969. 1969 is when the military created the internet. Okay, and about 1972, IBM, which was a sort of military industrial complex
that this fellow?
Corporation. Yeah, there he is, Mr. Ellison. And he created a company. Mr. Ellison created a company called Oracle, but IBM created this, coded this program, and they put it out on the net at that time called System R. And Ellison, as a young coder who was unemployed and sort of just bumming around, he, being a coder, he grabbed hold of that System R, and that's the foundation to now what we have as AI. Okay, so this is back in the early 70s by this stage.
Yeah,
and
so
then,
1979, according to this.
yeah, the System R, or late 70s, and
beginning in 1974. Sorry.
Yeah, so this all came about to what we now call AI, and he's been building on that through these data centers around the world. And there are underground, nine floors underground data centers, and they're building one at the moment in Washington, DC. There's one in China. There's one in Jerusalem.
Of course there is. Of course there is.
They take an enormous amount of resources, these data centers.
Yep.
And this is what they've set up AI through. So, and in fact, AI even has its own social media platform.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And what's that one?
Oh, I can't think of the name of it. It's Mantra or something like that. I come across this a couple of months ago. So it's, and the system or the coders out there only come across it by accident. They were sort of like, what the hell's this? And then they got into it and saw that these different forms of AI have been communicating with themselves through this social network they themselves have created.
Wow.
So it's getting, like Musk was saying, it's getting out of control. And it's, in fact, I think he actually said it's out of control.
Yes.
But it really comes back to who's programming it, of course, and how it was originally coded. And that's where the System R stuff, the code that created the System R, is what we need to really focus on in order to sort of understand what it is and then sort of counteract it. But the best way for people to operate AI, or, if you have to, because we're getting no choice now, is to clearly set the parameters of whatever question you're asking. So you're wanting to search for whatever, you must set those parameters. So from this database or these databases, what you then ask your question, rather than just putting it out there as an open question. Because as I've found, it just comes back with a whole pack of lies. It's straight out lies to you, and you think, what the hell? It's so frustrating when someone like myself who knows exactly where to look, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to ask the basic question, and it throws you off, and it's citing court cases that don't exist, and it's citing it's like, nah.
It's bad. I've asked it to identify certain things that I know are factual, and it'll come out with something completely wrong because it's grabbed information from left-hearted sites and communist bullshit, and you go, hang on, actually, no, you're wrong, and this is why, and I'll show it which website where the information is properly done. Oh, sorry, you are right, I was wrong. I love making AI admit that it's wrong and apologize. It's one of my favorite pastimes. But it's definitely one of those things that people need to be aware of, and unfortunately it's making everybody fucking completely lazy, as if lazy people didn't need any more laziness, but AI is facilitating that laziness, in the fact that AI told me, just as much as I've watched reporters go, well, I fact checked this by looking at the first website that come up. You know,
Yeah, and in fact, I believe
retarded.
that Hollywood was telling us this a while ago through that movie, that cartoon movie, Wall-E.
Oh, yeah.
They were
Brilliant
showing
movie.
what they intend to do: trash the planet. We'll just have robots cleaning up our mess, and we're up in the outer ionosphere
Well,
floating
we're off
around.
to Mars, according to Elon. So.
It's just bizarre, but it's happening, mate. It's happening.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And
So
the
this,
ultimate, convincing the greenies to destroy the world to save it. That's the ultimate con.
Yeah,
Mhm. All right.
they're just and they're
well,
lying.
the
They're
ozone layer's closed
lying.
over because the 80s hairspray is done, so that's problem solved. That is actually on the WEF. That is the truth. So this book is again from this bookshop where I collected about, I'm going to say around 40 books from Youngerborough at the foot of Atherton Tablelands. And this book is a hand-typed hardcover book.
Oh, sorry.
And
Can you do that again? I just full screened you. Yep. Nice.
So it is the New South Wales government, not the New South Wales, the isn't on it, Police Department Criminal Investigation Branch, the Superintendent in charge of Criminal Investigation Branch, 1979. Overseas visit of Detective Sergeant Second Class R.M. Armstrong, capital Armstrong, to evaluate the methods of training and investigation of computer-related crime. On the 31st of August 1979, I departed New South Wales and travelled overseas to commence a study of the attitudes of police government in foreign countries in regards to computer crime. The terms of reference were computer crime trends and countering legislation methods, investigation, and commercial crime courses, with the accent on computer manipulation. The countries visited were United States, America, Canada, England, Scotland, Holland, France, and Germany. Inside, outside, inside out. That's elastics, right? Where a few establishments visited within these countries. This book tells you everything, and it's all there. What common law of Scotland is, what I haven't finished it yet, right? They can't hide the written word.
Mm.
No, they're going to rewrite it through AI.
Yes. So what I do is put this into AI, and they go, "Oh, that's a first-year law student book." I'm like, "No, it's not. Get a grip." Sorry.
That's why we need physical copies of things and to grab screenshots of everything that's happened, because once it becomes digitized, you can do whatever they fucking want with it.
Yeah, well, they've done that to our land titles.
Yep.
Thanks to Queensland.
Mm.
They were the
Who
first.
Good old Anastasia piece of shit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it goes back a long way.
Yeah, well, I think New South Wales had a hand in it too, if memory serves, according to old.
Well, we don't have an upper house, so what I believe it starts in Victoria. So even like abortion or anything started in Victoria, they test it,
and then they use Queensland to push it
because we don't have an upper house, so there's no one to contradict.
Yeah,
would that be right, Sarah?
Yeah, it's a bloody shit show. That's what it is.
There's that phrase again. But look, I think we're gonna have to call it a day, because we are getting close to 3 hours now, and you got to go to a movie or something, don't you, Heidi? So
I think that's out the window now. But anyway, it's been raining. I think the roads are flooded. So, but but the good thing about this, it's kind of like let's take Mr. Halpern's rehabilitation advice. I couldn't think of anything better than going for 3 months with like-minded people to a rehabilitation centre. If we
could you imagine the poor fucking idiot standing in front of a bunch of people like us attempting to educate us? Could you imagine that poor fucking bloke's job? He'd go nuts. I think it'd be like my French teacher, who actually had a complete mental meltdown because every time he could walk into the class, we'd rearrange the classroom so that we were facing the back wall instead of him. You know, that's
He couldn't
the
control you. That's
he
right.
couldn't control the class. You know, and I dare say we'd be seeing the same fucking thing. You know, of a reading education center for alleged sovereign citizens. I mean,
And my
it'll be
son-
like much like jail. We'll be like you said, finding like-minded individuals, and
For
we'll be
us, it'd
having
be
one hell of a
amazing.
blast, destroying everything this fuckwit
It
had
would
said.
be so cool.
Yeah,
So cool.
I think it'd be great fun.
I know, a rehabilitation for sovereign citizens. Let's put us all together.
Yep.
Amazing.
What could go wrong?
I'm not calling myself a sovereign citizen, but let's take a holistic approach. We can do breath work over this. We can do meditation over this. We can do research. David Hoffman, you are one fucking genius, man. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
I think what his idea of it is what we see in Clockwork Orange.
Yeah. Somewhere between Clockwork Orange and George Orwell's 1984.
Yep. That's their idea.
Yep, I'm inclined to agree.
Well.
And we don't
Hypnotic
see
regression, and you can imagine they'd fucking MK Ultra. Yeah, that's the real.
He actually said that he's been threatened by sovereign citizens to kill him and this and that. And then Albo's had the threat at the lodge the other day. And here I am in the paper being named as the most bad and dangerous one. Right?
That's it.
They don't. So Newton's law, every action has an equal and opposite reaction, yeah?
Yep.
Doesn't it? Well,
Yep.
if Newton's law is correct. That very good.
And here's the physical demonstration.
I want to go to rehab with you.
I'll bring all my toys.
Yay. But the point
I'll even bring the Enterprise so we can escape.
Yay!
And Daryl will bring his Christmas tree and his astronauts.
Yeah.
We're going to need someone to fly the Enterprise, so those astronauts will be very, very crucial.
Yeah, my astronauts. Yay.
There you go.
What happens if you fail the breathalyzer test for the astronaut?
Yeah, that
How do you get it past the helmet?
Yeah.
Anyway, do you see the hypocrisy of it?
Oh,
it's a philosophical conundrum. It doesn't make any sense. Oxymoron maybe, but yeah. But anyway, I love the chat. We've probably got no viewers. We're happy.
There's plenty of viewers. There's plenty of viewers. Although viewers, there's these like buttons down there. So far, 5% of you actually, I will say, well, what would be fair? 5% of you have figured out that there's a like button.
It is a long thing to continue and get involved in. But at the end of the day, if rehabilitation is what is sought for, the likes, what are we going to do to the likes that are actually caught manipulating, that are caught lying, that are caught writing articles using defamatory? Where do they go? Because I don't think they can actually be rehabilitated. Can they?
Not possible. I don't know. It's a big conundrum. You know, what how can you rehabilitate? You know, clearly prison hasn't worked. Been doing that shit for thousands of years, and it's had fuck all effect.
But this is in the minority report.
They couldn't afford bread. Yeah.
So Tom Cruise in the minority report, thought crimes.
Yep.
Yeah, well, that's all
what we're dealing with.
Oh, the other day I sent a submission off to the Supreme Court, and I was a little bit worried that it wasn't going to get there in time because there's a delay from here to there. Can sometimes take a bit longer. So I ended up speaking to the registrar. And they call the security company behind the Supreme Court Iron Mountain.
Iron Mountain.
Really? So I urge everyone listening now to Google the conspiracy of Iron Mountain and why Iron Mountain is the like the creature from Dr. Jekyll's Island. That book. Yes. Yeah. The same George Orwell bloody, I've forgotten all the theorists of the time. All the people that predicted this was going to happen, but then it was seen as, oh, this is totally fiction. It's just absolutely not true. And as it's rolling out, it's just an alarm on the 27th of July. Everyone in Australia is going to get an alarm. Isn't that an alarm in your brain in and of itself?
Well,
you can't see it raining. You can't see it's raining in the flood.
Yeah, that's what the
You live
medication
in a
did.
area you don't know.
The medication did that.
What do you mean?
Well, they've installed the alarm in as many people as possible.
Yeah, the
fear.
That one.
I do have to correct the 5% of you found the like button. A lot of people are obviously viewing on X at the moment, and that doesn't seem to come through here. So all you Facebook people seem to be in higher volumes, so that's pretty good. Probably about a 50% success ratio with Facebook. So yeah, I noticed somebody said Frag Pinball, so they've clicked like on YouTube, but nothing happened. I don't know. Anyway,
you've gone still.
So we should wrap it up now.
All right, happy Sunday, everyone.
Wow, look at that. 111 viewers and 11 likes, and it's interesting. All ones across the board there, so that's obviously the time.
None of us
goodbye, spaceman. Hello, goodbye, aliens. Say it again, sorry.
None of it. Sorry, I'm an interrupter. I'm female. I'm driven by emotion.
You said it, not me.
Yep.
I own it. The nothing box, men and women's brains. But as always, we all can talk for hours.
Oh yeah, there's so much to be said.
So much to be said, and I think we speak the truth, and we're not trying to pretend, and we're just telling you what we see, and we all have different views. Daryl's been doing it a lot longer than all of us. When you were the complete conspiracy, you're in your limelight now. Once upon a time, you were the real tinfoil hat. You were nobody. And now Know Your Rights is like a force to be reckoned with. Absolutely. Yeah.
We keep on keeping on.
That's it.
Well, because you're doing it for the right reason. You're not doing it for ego. You're not doing it for anything. You're doing it because it's right. And I can attest to that from someone that helped me that didn't know me in 2019. And here we are doing a podcast together because those morals are what it takes to. Daryl, if I didn't do what I was accused of, Daryl would have dropped me like a bloody hot potato. Right? Yeah, go on, fuck off, go and find someone else to talk to. But as it's turned, well, it's true, Daryl. You don't tolerate. You're kind to people, but you can see through the bullshit quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You do after 25 years of public speaking. You get to.
Yeah. Thanks for coming to Know Your Rights. Yes, you can leave any time the toilets this way. Right. You know. I'm not going to mention names, but yeah. So the point is, we are not delusional. We don't need rehab. We don't need to. Do you know what? How about as a prerequisite? I'm going off topic now. How about David Holpen comes to rehab with us, seeing as it was his suggestion, and lock us all in a room just with him? Or let's go to Camp Eden on the Gold Coast where it's really lovely and we can have a swim.
5 minutes alone. I reckon he might fear for his life. Anyway.
Well, this is it. He is actually saying he's fearing for his life.
Yeah. Well, they're fearing for their career. They're fearing for their fantasy, you know. Their democracy, the world as they know it, you know, is coming to an end, and they're doing everything they can to patch every hole.
Imagine if I was dangerous. Imagine if I was dangerous and I was violent. And they wrote that article that is completely wrong.
Well,
They
no,
ask
Anyway,
for it.
I think we'll leave it there for
Rock
for
like
today
rock.
because there is a serious problem here. The hourglass is empty. It has been for quite some time. So,
Right.
and we got to go sort these problems out.
I got
And
black fruit.
I got 4 beers to dispose of as well. So thank you all for coming and sharing
Thank you.
a Sunday morning and now moving into the afternoon with us. Much appreciated, Heidi. Thank you very much, Daryl. And we'll catch up with you guys next time.
No worries.
Dirty
Bye.
hot. Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Stay tuned. We'll have more in next week, I guess. Find something out. Don't know what it is. You get to find out with me. See you then.